This has been Brode, and you're watching Born to be Wild.
Greeting, traveler.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Born to be Wild, a Wild exclusive Hearthstone podcast where we have fun with friends talking about the Wild format of Hearthstone, spotlighting members of the Wild community. I'm your host, Nate Wolf. Joining me, as always, two of my favorite people, Mr. Mike Lowe. How's it going, Mike?
Yo, what up, everybody? You're now listening to Born to be Wild HS. How's it going?
Yo, and Hydralisk, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. I'm having a good night. I'm stoked for the weekend, and I'm stoked for the show. So let's go.
Nice. And we have a very special guest with us tonight. So welcome to the show, Goliath the Dwarf. How are you?
Excellent. Been very excited about this for the past 2 weeks. Looking forward, doing all my research and everything. And so I'm ready to tell some stories here.
I'm excited.
Hold on a second. I'm sorry. Hold on. Whoa. Sorry, Goliath. I think Nate just played that new priest card on me because I was supposed to say your name, introduce
I'm
you.
sorry.
So he kind of stole my hand into my deck and just did my whole play. But since the turn's over, now I don't have my deck and my card, so
I hear there's a hot fix.
Oh, there's a hot fix, yeah.
Yes, apparently there was a glitch where it would steal the deck permanently, and they just changed it so that.
That's what happened. Yeah. So Nate was the version that wasn't nerfed. Like pre-hot fix. All right, I got you. Overpowered whale.
Yes. Oh man, so we are doing our first ever lore episode, and I am super duper excited.
Yes.
So, hey Mike, how did you meet Goliath?
So, I have a story here, real quick. Goliath, what server was that I first saw you in?
I believe you contacted me on the Alpha Chord server.
Okay, yes. So, I had this gung-ho attitude about trying to spruce up the Born to be Wild server, because currently I'm still in, honestly, this might sound gross, but over 20 to 30 Hearthstone servers in Discord. It's crazy. It's crazy. So I honestly spent a lot of time in all these servers, and when I came across your stuff, I was like, this is pretty cool. Maybe I can recruit him to post in hours, not to take Goliath away from anything else he was doing, but this is more of a give him another platform with more people who may not know who he is. You guys know what I'm saying? So I offered that, and then of course he accepted. Gave him the role of Loremaster because he had all the knowledge. Checked out a lot of the articles on out of .cards, which that's a cool handle. Anyway, website name. But really excited. I think I might have said it wrong the first time, but I wasn't trying to have him right on the site. I just wanted him to come to the Discord to have his own space, and I made it so that the restrictions are him, Nate, us as a host can post, because I want that channel to make sure it has what I designed it for him to put his content there, and for it to be a lore section. Because every other channel, everybody talks all the time, which is a good problem to have. But
you can always have general discussions and lounges anyway.
I think we're at 130 people now.
Yeah, something like that. It's growing.
Hey, that's true.
Very quickly. You're kind of breaking up a little bit, Mike. I lost you.
So I saw on breaking up.
Yeah. Oh, you were. You sound good now.
Now you're a bit smoother.
There you go.
I apologize. Yeah, so I discovered Goliath from a different server, and pulled him over to our server so that he can have another space to share the stories and articles that he puts together, which is very cool because I came from playing Magic. I know nothing about the World of Warcraft, so reading it and taking it in and consuming it in the way that he writes it's very acceptable, and I like it a lot.
Oh, it's great. It's great.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
I like it. Cool, guys. I was wondering.
So yeah,
go ahead, Mike.
No, I was gonna say heading out to Hydra if Hydra wants to ask a question.
No. Go ahead.
All right, yeah. So my first question for Loremaster Goliath here, what made you start playing World of Warcraft? If we can jump into questions, is that cool, Nate?
Yeah. We've got some. I want to talk about everybody's week, but let's talk to Goliath first. That's fine. Let's chat with Goliath and then we can jump into our week in Hearthstone, do some news, and then get into our main topic. Yeah, for sure. What was your question?
Oh yeah, my question for Goliath. I wanted to ask because I came from Magic. What made you get into World of Warcraft?
Okay, so this is kind of an unusual story. I had a very different path to it than a lot of other people do. I started playing about 4 years ago, coincidentally, just before I started college. I just graduated, by the way, and looking
Congrats.
for employment. So if anyone is hiring, I'm open. So I actually started playing Warcraft because I randomly decided to go to the live action Warcraft movie that was playing in theaters with a friend. And there's a lot of people who play Warcraft who really don't like that movie because it changes the story a little bit, and they don't like the way some things go because they're, diehard story fans. But I got really into it. And see, I'd heard of Warcraft before. It's pretty famous. But it was something that always intimidated me because we're talking over 20 years or more worth of storytelling across a couple different games, even games that started before World of Warcraft, like in the 90s or 80s or something. And so just like that sheer amount that looked like, how am I going to get into that? But the Warcraft movie told the very first story of where it all began.
Mm-hmm.
And so when that ended, I'm like, ooh, I like this. I want to know what happens next. And as it turns out, there's over 20 years of content that tell everything that happens next.
I need to know.
So I'm like, I'm going to get into this game because I want to know all of this stuff. I'm very into fantasy universes, like the expanded universes where everything is connected, and you have the book that tells this one thing and a movie that tells another part and all that stuff. So this was a gold mine for me.
Nice. I watched
awesome.
that movie too. I thought it was really fun. I know a lot of people had issue with it, but like, you got to enjoy it for what it is. I mean, if you go into that thinking it's gonna, win an Academy Award, like, you're fooling yourself, right? I mean, it's just supposed to be fun. I enjoyed it. I remember watching a video afterwards on YouTube. That was all the Hearthstone references in the Warcraft movie. And there wasn't a ton, but there was a couple Murlocs. There was a sheep somewhere. There was, a few cards. I'll have to dig it up, but I remember that being
there was
fun.
one part where Khadgar basically casts Polymorph on a guard.
Yeah.
And he's like, it only works on the simple-minded, which I think is also kind of a reference to Jedi Mind Trick or something.
Yes.
I'll have to see this movie. I haven't seen it.
Oh, dude, yeah. I gotta find it. I'll have to rewatch it. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I won't say that it was good. I will say that it was definitely very fun, and I did have a good time.
At the very least, I qualify it as guilty pleasure movie.
Oh, heck
maybe
yeah!
Even not so guilty.
I remember watching it, and I was fine with it. The only thing that confused me is there's not a lot of the characters calling each other by name in it, so you're just assuming that this person is this person, and you're sort of like guessing. I'm like, okay. This baby is Thrall, right? Like, I think the baby's Thrall. Like,
I think
okay,
so.
let's go. And
I had no clue who Thrall was by the time because it was my introduction. So
the whole time I'm like trying to piece together who I think who is and whatever. But yeah, I liked it.
It was fun.
Medivh is addressed as the Guardian more than he's called Medivh, so I didn't know the guy's name for most of the movie.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to like rewatch it now too, because it was I watched it in the theater too, so it was a long time ago. But hey, so one of the things
I got it on DVD and everything. Which actually I got a special sale thing in a steelbook at Target when it came out, which gave me, among other things, the Medivh skin in Hearthstone for free. So
that's right. I remember them doing that. I had already bought it, and I was sad that because I would have went and bought the movie, but oh well. Hey, one of the things that we like to ask people when they come on, and sometimes there's a great story and sometimes there's no story, but how did you come up with your name, Goliath the Dwarf? I'm curious if you're willing to share the story.
I'm more than willing. I absolutely love telling people this story. So essentially, I've always, ever since I saw the Hobbit movies, and particularly the first one where they're showing like the Kingdom of Erebor, just the visualization in that made me absolutely fall in love with the fantasy of dwarves. I identify with them in several different ways. Growing up, I was always the short kid, so I identify with them in terms of being short. I really like beards. I don't have a long, luxurious dwarven beard, but I hope to someday. I like singing, and I have a deep voice and a bass. And in a lot of these movies, like again in the Hobbit movie, they do a lot of that. And I have a really strong appreciation for good craftsmanship, which is another thing the dwarves are all about. And so I just feel a draw to them in that general sense. And then at one time, shortly after I graduated from high school years, I was in a musical production of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Narnia.
Oh, sweet.
And the part I had was the dwarf who is the sidekick to the White Witch. And then at one point during rehearsals, we realized that, my character doesn't actually have a name. He's just called Dwarf in the script. And we thought, well, for the heck of it, let's just have fun and give him a name. And the girl who was playing the White Witch suggested, why don't you go with Goliath? It's fun, it's irony. And I went with that because, one, I thought it was a good idea, but the other thing is I had a huge crush on her at the time, and so I thought anything she said was a good idea. So just kind of went with that. And then
You were thinking.
And then after that, my brother eventually got me into Steam because he wanted someone to play some games with. And so when I made my Steam account, I decided Goliath the Dwarf. And then I just ended up making all of my accounts the same name for the sake of, not getting mixed up or people finding me on other things. But that my favorite part of this is that a couple years ago, when I was in a college class, it was sort of a once a week in the evening type of class with a really laid back teacher. And at the start of the first class, he went around, trying to figure out everybody's names. And he asked, do you have any nicknames? And his name was Daniel. My name is Daniel. And I said, my name is Daniel, and I joked, but, online people call me Goliath the Dwarf. And he actually went with that. So my professor and everyone in that class called me Goliath for that entire college semester. Like, I'm sure that there's people in that class who only know me as Goliath because that's all that I was ever called.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I know, right?
What a good story.
So yeah.
It's better than I expected. I love it. Oh, man. So
does anybody have any more questions for Goliath?
I mean, how did you get into WoW?
You mean aside from the movie?
Yeah. I mean, I assume you saw the movie and then you started playing World of Warcraft after that?
Yeah, I started playing Warcraft just before the Legion expansion came out. And so then I played for a while, just kind of experiencing that stuff. And at the time, the story was still a little bit all over the place, a little bit confusing. But then they came out with the Chronicle books. Basically a set of 3. I actually have volume 3 right here next to me.
Nice.
And these are books that essentially summarize that whole 20 years worth of story, including straightening out any retcons that they did and filling in some information that maybe helps to explain some things. Because when WoW started, it wasn't until the Wrath of the Lich King expansion that they really started incorporating story elements into the game. So a lot of the earlier stuff from the original classic and the Burning Crusade, there wasn't very much story stuff explained. So that stuff really helped being explained in the books. And I just kind of became an expert on it overnight. I even ended up on a little game show that a guy was doing on YouTube about WoW lore, and I actually won it. And you can't see it now, but I have a large Hearthstone mouse pad right down beneath my mouse and my keyboard that I won as a prize on that game show for my
that's
lore.
awesome.
So I guess even from the start, my WoW lore manifested in me benefiting in Hearthstone.
That's awesome. Hey, continue with that. But when you get a chance, can you take a picture of that and then post it in Discord later?
Oh, absolutely, sure.
That'd be great. Love that.
Very cool. Hey, we have a question from Aramorn in the chat. Horde or Alliance?
Lore-wise, I am neutral just because I see that there's good points with both factions. It's largely just a cultural difference where they can't really coexist fully in that sense. I started out playing Horde. I had a Blood Elf Warlock for the first 2.5 years of my playing it. But then the allied races came out during Battle for Azeroth, and one of them was Dark Irons. So you got dwarves, and orange is my favorite color, and I'm just like, I can't resist this. I'm changing to a Dark Iron Paladin, so that's my name now. That's my main, and I named him Goliath. And so currently my main is on Alliance. But I like playing, I like playing both sides. I like experiencing the whole story for everything, because, it's not as much fun if you're only experiencing half the story.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Well, okay, other... Oh, sorry, go for it, Mike.
Sorry.
You go.
Yeah, real quick. It's a burning question because everybody listening is wondering. Yeah, you know it's coming. The influencer of this name, are you still in contact with this woman?
No. No, honestly, it was one of those one-sided. I said it was a crush. I didn't say that she reciprocated it.
Wow.
Oh no, I didn't want to assume. I just wanted to ask if you were still in contact because Goliath the Dwarf blew up. Loremaster. So hey,
I love it. Did you play any of the other Warcraft games? I mean, I had played Warcraft 1 and 2. Warcraft 2 is like one of my favorite games. And I skipped over 3. I finally have it, but I haven't played it. But I knew there was a ton of lore in that. Is that something that you got into at all?
Actually, the Warcraft 3 is going to be a huge source. That's largely the time period of the lore that we're going to be talking about today.
Oh, perfect.
So yeah, I was too young. Like I think that at least the first one probably came out before I was born. Probably the second one too. I can't remember the dates they came out on. I didn't really start playing computer games on a regular basis until my teen years, so I kind of passed by all that stuff. I might end up getting Reforged at some point, but there's been a lot of controversy about it, and so I've been a little hesitant to dump my cash into it, especially since it's a story I already know, but people say, man, you got to get the experience. So maybe I'll end up playing Warcraft 3 at some point.
I heard that you could. I pre-ordered it because I'm a sucker for the card backs, and I wanted the Hearthstone card back. And I wanted to play it, but I heard that there was a way that you could play like the original version with the old graphics. You could play the new version with the like updated graphics or whatever. So I think there's the potential for either. Then again, I still haven't jumped into it yet, so I don't know. Maybe that's something for this weekend.
Yeah, my thing is my eyes literally, I literally get a headache when I look at graphics graphics that are too old and blocky. So I was very dependent on there being a new version of things in order to get me to play it at all. So if I ever do it, it will be with those new graphics.
For sure.
Otherwise, youch.
That's cool. I still have the discs for, I think, Warcraft 2 and Warcraft 3 hiding in my closet somewhere.
Yeah, I'm definitely feeling old right now because
Yeah.
I bought Warcraft 1 when it came out. So
Oh yeah, I used to play Warcraft 2 BattleNet Edition like competitively. Like I would be in the top 1000 on ladder on NA. Like US East I usually played in, even though I live in the West, but I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just massing units and sending them in.
You didn't know what you were doing, and you were a master player.
Oh yeah, well, unfortunately, not too many people actually played that game online, really, compared to people playing StarCraft. Once StarCraft, because
StarCraft was huge, yeah,
and it nobody was playing Warcraft 2 online. There was barely anybody playing, but I would switch over when I was getting bored of StarCraft, and then I'd play Warcraft 2. And
yeah, War Star, craft's a craft, right?
yeah.
That's funny though. It was funny when they did that because I used to play all the old point and click adventure games, and everything was quest, King's Quest, Space Quest, Police Quest, Quest for Glory. Yep, all those. Anyways,
the good old days. Yeah. Well, we like to ask everybody how they're doing in this part of the show. See how everybody's week has been going. Anything cool happen to you? How real life's going? How Hearthstone's going? Personally, for me, it's been a crazy hectic week. I've been working a lot, but I've been really stoked for today. Really glad to have you, Goliath the Dwarf, on the show. Everybody's been stoked about the new expansion. I jumped on last night when I got home. I jammed, I don't know, maybe 10 games or so, just trying out some rogue stuff. And I was very surprised because we talked about how we didn't really think soul fragments were going to be much of a thing. But I don't know, like, where you guys are sitting at, because I was like platinum 1 or 2 or something when I started playing last night. And I saw either Quest Mage or a Soul Fragment deck, like over and over and over again, and it was surprising to me. But I know people are trying stuff with the Soul Fragments, and the other people aren't trying anything and playing Quest Mage.
It's new. It's just because it's new. I think we get when it wears off, maybe it'll. I don't know. They seem fun.
They're fun to play with.
Yeah, but that was basically my week. I didn't do anything really interesting, just working a lot, and was really stoked for the expansion. I'm really stoked to play this weekend. I'm going to jam a lot of games and try a lot of new things. How about you, Mike? How's your week?
Yeah, so I tried a couple of days earlier in the week for a couple of days to hit Legend. For whatever reason, I just kept hitting this wall. I was doing great on stream the other day. I was playing Q Block, and we were cooking people. Like, we were on a 9-1 streak. Ooh, and then somehow it turned into 10-5. And then I didn't recognize the pocket I was in. And then by the time I switched, it was just too late. And then I was now in this like mindset I'd never get into. But I was like pre-expansion, frustrated tilt. So I was switching decks, and then I would queue into the counter. So every time you switch a deck, you get the counter. Like insane. So
yep.
I was like, if I don't get Legend before this expansion comes out, then I'm just gonna let go of the try hard mindset for this month and just go with the flow, because THL starts at the end of the month. From now until the last few days of the month, it doesn't matter if I hit Legend, if I climb high, because there's a bunch of new cards out. So with new cards, there's new information, new strategies you got to learn, new counter plays. So today I did a co-op with Zerosia. We did a kind of a rework. It's like 4 cards, but of Mali Druid, Lightning Bloom. Damn, yo.
Oh, dude, yeah, no joke. That card is no joke.
Yo, that combo, it's so crazy. Like, we played a couple times, and I played on my own a little bit, and like I was getting that combo off like in like 3 or 4 turns. It's crazy. But one deck we really played a lot. We played a bunch of games. this priest deck. So on the show, when we were doing our reviews, I had this big notepad about this Frazzle freshman card, and I had a lot of ideas with it. And today, me and Zerosha kind of collabed, and we'll talk about the list later. But we did really well with it. The one deck that kicked our ass, which kicks everyone's ass, is Q Block. So the fact that we were able to like play against other decks, we had some meta opponents, but one opponent was like some weird Paladin deck. I don't know what he was doing. As much as I love Paladin, even I didn't know what he was doing. but this priest deck, it's not, obviously it's day 2. It's not refined, but there's something here. We just might need more eyes and more experienced people such as yourselves to take a look, and then we'll figure it out down the line. But yeah, it's been a good week. How about you, Goliath? What's going on?
So I actually haven't been able to play. I log into Hearthstone at least once a day to do the quests. I'm generally very free to play in my attitude. Although I do the pre-order sometimes, like for this, but largely if I really want that hero skin. That's it's not the cards that motivate me. It's the hero skin. But
you heard that, Blizzard? You heard that, Blizzard?
So anyway, my general strategy, the way that I play is the thrill of building the collection of the you play, you earn some gold. With that gold, you get to build your collection even more. For me, that's a huge thrill, the way that I have fun in the game. And which is why I almost never dust a non-duplicate, no matter how bad people say it is. But so actually, I've been a little busy since the expansion came out, and I haven't been able to play around as much as I've wanted to yet. I'm really happy that last month I was finally, after 4 years of playing this game, finally able to hit Legend for the first time with adaptation of I think a deck that you posted, Mike, with a Discord lock with slightly adjusted for the cards that I had. And I largely wanted to get Legend because I wanted that free legendary and I wanted the card back. So I'm not quite so, now that I have those, I'm not quite so obsessed about wanting to get it. But I am in that Diamond 5 spot where I go up and I slide back down again. I'm climbing, and then it'll be 3. So
hey, welcome to the sled team. You know, it's a mountain of snow. We climb up and then we slide down.
It's fantastic.
Oh man, I feel you there. Yeah.
What about you, Nate? How's your week been going? I heard you had some fun with a certain warlock deck.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Okay. Yeah. So check this out. I was I was in that same boat where like what I really wanted to do was when this new set came out, I wanted to be able to just like make some fun decks, make some memes, try all the new stuff, and not worry about my rank. And so I was trying really hard to hit Legend before the new set dropped. And I hit rank 3 at least 3 times. And it was the same thing, the sled, 5 to 3, at least 3 or 4 times.
Yes.
On Wednesday, let's see, the new set came out Thursday. Tuesday night, I did a co-op stream with our good buddy, Electric Sheep City. And we played, I had been playing Big Shaman. He hit Legend that afternoon on his lunch break with Discard Warlock.
Yep.
He was like, hey, this is pretty nutty. You got to check this out. So we did a co-op stream that night. I just used his deck. I played, he watched, we chatted through the games and went, I think 12-2 to hit Legend. It was pretty crazy. So I got, I came in at 304, which is cool.
Nice. Wait, 304?
Yep.
You could have been missing 305. Pitbull, you know? To all our hip hop fans out there, you know.
I missed it. My
bad. Anyway, good. Anyway.
Hey, I'm sure someone got it. Okay.
So here's the deck that we used is Discard Warlock. Not that it really matters anymore since there's new cards. But yeah, we went 12-3, 80% to Legend. So it was cool. It was a lot of fun. And so big shout out to Sheep City. He's a super awesome guy, and it was was a blast. So that primarily is what I've been up to. Again, work has been very busy, unfortunately, and just kind of doing that stuff. I have contemplated changing my name from Nate Wolf to Nate Whale because I whaled out so hard this set. So what I've done in the past is I've done, typically I try to do both pre-orders. I am a absolute sucker for the card backs and the skins and all that cosmetic stuff. And it's, I mean, frankly, it's not a bad deal. Like if you can get the pre-orders, it's a better deal than it is buying packs in the shop. So I got both pre-orders. What I did last set, which I totally regretted, was I got both pre-orders and then I bought a few extra cards. I had saved up some gold and stuff. And immediately I disenchanted all of my duplicates. Like I kept everything like that I didn't have, but I disenchanted all my duplicates and crafted the rest of the set so that I could have a full set. And then like a week later, maybe 2 weeks later, they nerfed a whole bunch of Demon Hunter stuff. And I was so frustrated because I'd already disenchanted all of it. And so I kept thinking this time around, like I don't want to disenchant anything. I'm just going to sit on it. And then a couple weeks in, they will nerf something, and then I'll disenchant my 10 copies of it or whatever, and try to, I can get my extra dust that way. I made the mistake of starting to craft golden cards, and it is very expensive. And so I am, I'm trying to watch that. The trick that, so what I'll be doing starting now until the next expansion in 4 months is I'm just hoarding gold. So I'll have that. And then what I did this time is like, I knew this was coming out soon. And so every time I got paid for like, I don't know, month and a half, like leading up to it, I'd get my paycheck. I'd buy some Blizzard store credit and just sit it there, get paid again, throw up, some more money up on the store credit. And so when the set came out, I was able to buy a whole mess of packs that I had kind of saved up for a couple months. Ended up opening 400 packs. Which between the free legendaries and everything else, it was the full set. So I fully whaled out.
How long did that take you to open, man? It felt like it was taking me forever just to open my 80. I was getting bored out of certain points.
It was it took about 2 hours. I recorded it. We did it live last night. It took about 2 hours.
With your son.
I had my kid in his room behind my office on Discord, and we were chatting, and he got one of the pre-orders, and we were kind of chatting while we played, and it was hilarious.
That's kind of cool.
He cannot stop talking for the life of him, and so if you ever watch the video or whatever, you hear him go blah 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 blah, dad. Blah, blah, blah.
It was super cute, by the way.
Yeah, it was awesome.
He was so excited about everything he was opening. He was talking about this. Even if it was a horrible card, he's like, but I love the art. I'm keeping it.
Yeah.
That's the spirit. That's my
yes. He's a good kid.
Nate Wolf Jr. I don't know his name. That's what we're gonna call him for the show. I enjoyed the stream. You say he talked a lot, but everything he said was very informative, whether you knew the game or not. Because, for example, he was talking about, hey, Dad, I'm missing this last Doomhammer for this deck. Should I spend the dust for it or not? Nate was like, let's just hold off, new expansion. And then he was talking about Milrogue and other decks like that. So the fact that this Nate Jr. knows about Milrogue just shows how great his dad is and how knowledgeable this child is. So I'm very excited for the future of the game.
Trying to train him right. His favorite class is Shaman. He wants to jam Shutterwalk and everything, and so he's trying to. And actually, he really lucked out because he opened up 2 of the Shaman legends. He got the dual class Shaman Druid, and then he opened up the Instructor Fireheart, I think it was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was the one I got for free.
Yeah, and so he was pretty excited that he got the legends from the class that he really likes. So
Yeah.
I was happy for him, and yeah, it was a good time. It was a good time. One other thing before I wrap up my week. So I had a good week, really good week. Opened lots of cards, hit legend, super good. So I got my Born to Be Wild shirt in the mail, and it looks super awesome.
Oh,
Nice.
So so here's the deal. I washed it, and either it shrunk a little bit, or I have somehow become slightly more manly than I thought I was. The shirt is a little bit tight on me. Yeah, right. It couldn't be.
Just got the black thumbnail tear to shreds.
I put it on, right, and it fits, but like it's a little fits like a glove. So what I wanted to do, because I'm losing a little bit of weight and I'm trying to exercise and stuff, but it's a slow process. Rather than sit the shirt aside and try to fit into it later, I would like to give it away to somebody, and I will buy a bigger one that doesn't look like it is like stretched on my manly body. So if anybody wants a Born to Be Wild red t-shirt that is freaking amazing, what I want you to do is DM me either in Twitter or in Discord. Send me a message, just say t-shirt. I only want to ship it to the US. I apologize, but last time I shipped to Europe, it was super duper expensive. But here's the shirt, right? It's a men's large. It is like a kind of fitted or something, so it's really soft, really nice shirt. But if anybody wants it, yeah, hit me up. Super cool shirt, and apparently I need to lose a little bit of weight, but I would love to send it to somebody for free. And whoever, send me a DM on Discord or on Twitter, and I will shoot it out to somebody. If I get multiple requests, then I'll do a drawing or something. But anyways, I would love to pass it on to somebody. So
yeah, man, these shirts are nice. If you don't got yourself a pair, you should go to borntobewildhs.com, hit that merch link. We got hats, we got mugs. Hydra's wife makes koozies. That's not available yet, but we'll get there. We'll get there. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Building the hype. We'll get there.
Yeah, they're pretty nice.
They are really nice.
Transition, man.
I should have added this to my week. I'm sorry, because I was walking to the store, came back, saw a package on the stairs, grabbed it, and then it was from my boy Nate. So I appreciate the shirt. Feels great. Nice material here. Got the big orange dragon with the letter. And, this is really great. I'm loving this shirt.
Great orange, man.
Loving it.
So did I ever tell you guys like why we chose that for the logo?
No, and
perfect time.
I remember when I joined things, I thought that is an amazing logo. Props to whoever the graphic designer is, because I love it.
Oh, thank you.
The logo's dope. I love it too. So I don't know how familiar you are with the show, but it used to be hosted by myself and Craig of Canada. We used to do a show called Into the Wild, took a break, then came back and started up a new show. And I used to do graphic design a long time ago. I do the graphics for the show, but not I don't do it professionally anymore. But so I wanted to hire somebody to do the graphic design for it. And so the guy that I hired, his name is Hassan. He goes by HSSN. I can link him up somewhere, but he does amazing work. Primarily, it's like esports teams logos and stuff like that. But I didn't want to use any sort of like Blizzard official character or artwork because I didn't want to get into like licensing issues.
Smart move.
But so the Orange Dragon, Paladin, historically Paladin was my old favorite class, kind of my first class that I hit Legend with. It was the first class that I got Gold in. And it was the same for Craig. We had both hit Legend for the first time. This was a few years back. But it was both with Paladin and 1 month apart. And so I was looking through all the cards, and the Paladin dragons are all the orange ones. I wanted a dragon just because I thought they were super cool. This was And I thought, oh, I want a paladin dragon. So I'm looking at all these, and you have Nozdormu and the Amber Watchers and all that stuff. And so I thought, hey, let's look at some designs from the orange dragons and do one of those. So that's kind of where it came from. It's just like a throwback to our old favorite class, what we hit legend with the first time, and that sort of thing. So So I saw a couple sketches, made a couple changes, but overall, I love the logo. It's super fun. I like bragging about it because it wasn't me that designed it; it was somebody else. But yeah, I think it turned out really cool. So, anyways,
Yeah,
Very
it
cool.
did. Also,
Very
technically,
cool.
they are bronze dragons,
Bronze
not orange
dragons.
dragons. But as a huge fan of the color orange, I have no objection.
there you go. Aramor in chat is asking
That's
what
my bread spread.
my first legend deck. It was Egg Paladin, before the Call to Arms nerf. So that was back when Call to Arms cost 4. Yeah, it was great. And so we played eggs in that deck. I'll have to find it somewhere, but it was so much fun. It was Wololo's deck, if you remember that guy. I don't know that he plays very much anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I remember that Levi made like a last minute change to it or something, and I followed suit because I thought it was smart. And then I hit legend with it. It was great. So, anyways, that's me. We actually have a surprising amount of news considering it's like one day after the set has dropped, but there's quite a bit of things.
Oh yeah.
So I'm going to pass it over to Hydra to kind of go over some of that stuff, and we can all chat about it,
Yeah, sounds good. So yeah, we got quite a bit of news going on this week. If everybody recalls, due to COVID-19, Blizzard canceled BlizzCon this year. For the safety of everybody, I know a lot of people were disappointed, but it makes sense. But we were hinted at that there possibly could be something virtual happening, and at a recent Q&A, Activision Blizzard announced that yes, there will definitely be something, and it will be virtual, and it will happen at the beginning of 2021. No additional details have been, released. It's kind of what we assumed, but it's really exciting to hear that it actually is going to happen, and that they are doing something to please the fans and try to bring everybody, together. And I'm sure that they will put in a solid effort to make it, because they can't exactly replicate the experience of everybody being together, but I feel like they're going to try. What do you guys think about that?
I always buy the virtual ticket anyways, and usually it's just because it comes with a card back or some kind of in-game something or other. But like, I'm a big Diablo fan, so I like kind of watching, that. There's the Hearthstone panels are good. I like getting the kind of the inside scoop on some of the stuff.
Love getting Marin the Fox in gold.
Yeah.
Oh, missed out on that one.
Yeah, I couldn't help myself. I had to do that.
So yeah, it's not a big surprise, but I don't know. It's kind of cool.
I think it's going to be interesting. This year, the Phoenix is going to be quite a switch up, where we won't have the announcement for the big finale card set from a BlizzCon. So no, extra announcements or the people talking to the crowds about, and here's a Phoenix.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I'll bet you we will probably have something like that, given the timing of when they're doing this virtual thing. They're going to have at least something a little extra special for the announcement of the first set of the next Hearthstone year, which I'll be interested to see how they turn it into a grand opening type of announcement.
Yeah, that's true. It looks like they might be doing the Dark Moon Fair. That's what I think it kind of looks like. I guess we'll see. But
that's what most of us at Out of Cards are speculating. Is the teaser image that they said for all three, the little bracket around the thing in the middle perfectly matches what they have on the Dark Moon Fair card back. So it seemed either they're just really being lazy and some assets, or this is a very clear hint that this is Dark Moon Fair that they're planning on.
Yeah.
We could be surprised though.
Speaking of surprise, do you see they released this like there was a bundle in game for I don't know an hour or something, and then they yanked
it was a complete accident. So what happened, as far as we can tell, is somebody dropped the ball, and this bundle for $20. It's a really good deal. It's $20. You get 2 random legendaries from the new expansion, 10 Year of the Dragon packs, and 10 Ashes of Outland card packs, all for $20. Appeared in the store, and it wasn't announced. There was nothing, and people were buying it. And some people could get it, some people couldn't see it. I happened to be watching my buddy Mirak on stream, and he saw it, and he was trying to click on it, and it wouldn't let him buy it. And he was like super confused. So some people could see it, some people could buy it, some people couldn't buy it, and then it just poof, like it disappeared.
Like Reno?
Yeah, poof. It as if it never existed. Oh crap! Maybe that means they ain't coming back.
Oh,
Better not be like Reno. But if it's a thing that they were, I'm guessing it got released a little early. But it's an amazing deal if they bring it back. I'm definitely gonna grab it because I'm a sucker. It's 2 more legendaries. I got 13 legendaries out of the new set, so it'll be 2 extra and another 20 packs. So
is this that philosophy bundle that was done?
Yes.
Or
Yeah.
is it something else?
yes, that's the one.
for $20?
Yeah, $20 for 10 packs plus 2 random legendaries. That's pretty good, right?
But guaranteed.
20 packs.
Yeah, sorry. Yes, 20 packs. My bad. Did I say 10?
Guaranteed legendaries? Damn.
Yeah.
I would have got that.
So 20 packs plus 2 legendaries for $20.
Yep.
Yeah.
How can you say no to that, right?
3 legendaries.
Yeah. I assume they'll
That is
release it
pretty
at
good.
some point. I think that it was probably just meant for a little bit later.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I don't even need the cards, and I would do it for the dust. I mean, like, it's too good of a deal to pass up.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that reminds me.
Just enough that he couldn't refuse.
That's pretty good.
That reminds me. The way that I got so many packs. I mean, I had saved up, right? But in client, you can buy the what is it? The $69.99 for what is it? Is it 60 packs or something like that? That bundle is not offered in mobile. It's only offered in the PC app or PC game. But it's a better value. So that's what I'll try to go for. Anyways.
Okay, so next, if you guys remember, we talked recently about the passing of Rekful, the World of Warcraft and Hearthstone streamer, also variety streamer, and the sad passing of him. However, something really neat, Blizzard has decided to remember him in a way of making him an NPC in World of Warcraft. Yeah, which is pretty cool. He was a very famous rogue PvP player, so they made him a rogue trainer. And he can be found in the Cathedral of Light, which I believe is where everybody gathered for his online funerals. After his passing, they gathered there in the masses. If you look at videos of it, there were so many people in the same room, you couldn't tell one from another. And they put a NPC there for him, which is really cool for Blizzard to recognize him like that.
Yeah, I think so too. That's a good move on their end, I think. So, and it was really unfortunate what happened to him, but I think that's a super cool way to remember him. So classy, I think it's definitely classy.
Yeah, well, especially since how long was he? Because he was banned from WoW, right?
Oh, did he? I don't know.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, he got like a lifetime ban.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
Oh, what?
Wait, how did that happen?
I hadn't heard of the guy before all this stuff happened. So this is all
he
news to
did
me.
something where he was playing on a friend's character,
Oh, you're not supposed to do that.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
And
Especially him.
Yeah, no,
He's too good.
I don't know if he was thinking or whatever. You guys can look into it. Don't take my word for exactly what happened. You can look it up yourselves. But yeah, he got a ban for playing on a different account or something like
Whoops.
that. But
Damn.
it was really cool for Blizzard to honor him despite all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did they lift the ban finally then?
He's
like up in the afterlife is like, I still can't log in. Oh,
As a fan, I always enjoyed watching his Hearthstone streams within the past 2-3 years. I think he lived in Dallas. He like lives on a high rise. The camera view always like overlooked like the balcony. It was pretty sick. But what I liked about him a lot, he would like invite people over. It didn't matter how many people were there. He was so focused on stream. He's so focused on like counting lethal, counting cards, talking out plays, talking to chat. And like, I liked that me and him had the same bad luck. You know, like count up all this lethal, you count mana, you get the person at lethal one turn later, and then somehow they top deck the craziness. And like with anybody, but he kind of like next level there, like his rage, like he would react in the moment. Like no filter, like no holding back, like slamming the table, punching the desk, like, and I feel the same. Like I felt him, and I was like, I like this guy, regardless of what anyone says. I was like, I like this guy. Like he's just a genuine person on stream, not playing a character. So, rest in peace, bro.
Yeah, one thing people always said about Reckful, like no matter what he did or how you wanted to judge him, that he was always honest about what he was doing, whether it was right or wrong.
that is an admirable quality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool dude.
Okay, well, next we have something pretty neat that happened. Cora, Songbird, which a lot of people know, a lot of people listen to the podcast Coin Concede, which is where she used to be a host on, and then eventually she started doing casting, and then ended up getting a job on Team 5 doing, I think it's final design is what she does. Don't quote me on that, but she is on the Hearthstone team, and super props to her. And she got an interview recently by Forbes magazine.
Woo! Okay, talk to me.
Right.
So
That's the
like
big business one, right?
it's pretty cool to you start off as playing a game, podcasting about the game, then you're casting on like the actual Play Hearthstone Twitch channel, and then
Tespa.
Yeah, and then now you're working for them. And then Forbes is interviewing you.
It was super cool.
Super shout out to her for that. And
and she mentioned Wild specifically in the interview, which I thought was interesting. So
yes.
What?
Yeah. The interviewer, her name was Heather Newman. And she asked the question, how much attention do you give to that play mode versus standard when it comes to balancing? And she gave a pretty intelligent answer. I'm just going to quote here where she says, "We have so many more cards in Wild than in Standard that naturally you're going to have more powerful interactions and interactions that we didn't plan for in Standard. So we absolutely do keep an eye on Wild. We've balanced Wild cards quite recently, but naturally Wild will be more powerful, and we're okay with that. We want Standard to be this ever-changing format and Wild to be this nostalgic format where players can go back and play decks that are more powerful. That doesn't mean that we want them to be completely out of control." So she's stated that they are watching Wild, that they have nerf cards, and that they're not just going to ignore it, but they also want it to be kind of crazy.
I like that.
I love it. It is, though, it is, I know she had played Wild. She casted the Wild Open. It's very, I don't know. I'm just happy that they keep an eye on it. Like she said, one of the things that I love about Wild is that like we play degenerate decks here, like absolutely. And that's half the fun, right? But I think when things get too out of control or too polarized, like we want them to step in, and not very often, but from time to time.
Like
and
when Res Priest dominates everything.
Yeah. I mean, and it's interesting because they can make a small tweak and it still have a significant impact. Barnes to 5 or the Quest Mage Open the Way Gates up to, what was it, 8? And so, I mean, some micro changes, but I think it's good, and I just appreciate the feedback. And one of the things that she in particular has been very good about, but also like Celestalon and Chris Sierra and some of the other folks have been very accessible, like on Twitter or wherever, where if somebody reaches out to them, they're usually very good at responding. And it's from a community feedback point of view, it's very much appreciated. So big props to them.
I think it was Celeste who actually responded to the tweet out of card state of my article and offered a bit of additional lore feedback about the characters. That was really cool to get some right from the source. So I really appreciate that accessibility on his part.
Yeah.
I just want to say real quick, if I can, about Korra. First of all, love Korra. I started watching Korra back 2016. I remember Mondays, Tuesdays, maybe Wednesdays, but definitely Mondays and Tuesdays were the nights where I made sure like I cleared my schedule because Tespa was going to be on. Korra was casting, and I really forget who she was with. I apologize, but to me, she was the main draw. She played the game. She was podcasting. She's very knowledgeable, and she has just a way of, captivating, keeping you involved. So shout out to that. And I can't say it was her, but I like to believe so. Ever since she joined this team, for my optics, it just looks and feels like, as a whole, they're a lot more accessible. And on their side, they're stepping out and looking for tweets or at tweets and responding, just like what Goliath had said. Because I don't think maybe Goliath did tag, but I feel like there was time before where people as myself or Goliath or others, you try to find stuff out, you tag them, you don't get an answer. I don't want to say it was Korra, but I feel like ever since she joined, going forward, like they really opened up. Maybe I'm putting words in her mouth. I'm talking.
No. I remember
like she had an influence there. Go ahead.
There was a tweet, and I don't know where it is, but a while back, she had said specifically, "Hey, we don't mind when you tag us because sometimes, like, hey, we like knowing about the issues. Like, if there's an issue, the sooner we know about it, the sooner we can fix it. We can answer questions. We want to be accessible. And I think there's a balance, right, where they don't we don't want people harassing the devs." But I really like that they're accessible, and I think as long as people don't abuse it, they'll keep doing it. If they start getting, I think Ixar used to get a bunch of crap, and we talked about it on the show a little bit. And like the dude is on his honeymoon getting harassed because people were mad about some card. It's like, grow up, you guys.
Seriously.
But I think if you treat people with respect, everything is pretty good. And I just big props to the devs for being so accessible, answering the questions. And like I always, you have this little kind of geek out fanboy moment when you reach out or something and they respond to you or they like your thing or they retweet it or whatever. Like it's like, oh my God, it's anyways, that's cool. So
I can relate.
It's a great feeling. I can relate. Oh yeah, definitely. Because like you tweet something out, you don't think they'll say something or even think about it, and then when they respond, you fanboy, you geek out like, oh my God, but then you don't want to say too much in the reply tweet because you might scare them off. I feel you.
It's true.
Yeah, or not just Twitter, other social media. Like my main experiences with Reddit, because for the Year of the Dragon, the big storyline that we had last year, I wrote an article that was just kind of the entire, keeping track of the story from the Dalaran heist all the way up to Galakrond and everything. And that got posted on Reddit. And Dave Kozak himself posted a thing saying that he liked it. And I was just, oh man, like I was having so much dopamine rushing to my head when I saw that.
That's
like,
cool.
He made the stuff and he likes me talking about it.
Hey, speaking of hearing your name, we're gonna hear about that in a little bit. Hydra, Nate, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yo,
we're gonna get to that.
We're almost there. We're almost there. Yeah, we should move along.
Yeah, before we get to that, a couple more things. Speaking of devs, if anybody, well, we should all remember Hadija, who is a person who has worked on Hearthstone. They recently left a few weeks back. They announced that they had left the team to go work on other things. But what they did do is they left a tiny little Easter egg before they left. So it was found when you are doing your pack opening. When you're opening a pack of the new set, there's a little tiny note that is left. If you pause it, it's almost impossible to see.
You can't. Yeah, it's almost impossible. So they were in charge of the like VFX for the game. Hadija is awesome. And so when the pack, when you open a pack, it like explodes and there's all these little things everywhere. Like it goes so fast that you can't see it. But like if you watch it in slow motion and you pause it and you zoom it in, and what they said on Twitter was that they meant to change the font to some like runes or something like that and then forgot to. But you can read the message here. And the timing was like, it was added as a goodbye to the Hearthstone team, which I thought was so clever. So it says, hi friends, you're cute and I'll miss you. Connor, thanks for always BSing with me. Sarah, you're the most charming person I've ever met. Alec, you're so kind. Also Adam and Nick, I promised I'd sneak you into an effect. I got you, my dudes. So like, what a good Easter egg, right? And like,
it's super cool.
Yeah.
I can't believe that someone found it in the first place. Like, it would have never. Yeah, you have to watch it in like slow motion, like freeze frame or something, and then super zoom. So good catch. I guess someone by the name of Alios817 on Twitter found it. So, but yes, total like full on CSI moment, right? So
seriously, how do you even think of trying to even find something like that? Like what?
I don't
That's
know.
crazy.
Like I always think that the pack openings are super neat. And my favorite thing whenever I was opening, I believe it was Old Gods packs, like the eyeball would fly out.
the eyeballs, that one was so
like I wish I could see that in slow motion. So I bet you some people just look at it in slow motion because that was my favorite, just watching it make that squishy sound and the eyeball would pop and fly out.
That was so gross.
I'll
I loved
bet you
it.
that someone just wanted to be able to read what was written there for the heck of it. They wanted to know real words, and then it just so happened that it was this Easter egg.
Yeah, probably.
There's got to be someone with that curiosity out there to do it.
Well, now I think we're all going to do it going forward too, probably. But that's fun.
Yeah.
All right, so here's the best news of all. We saved to last because this is so much fun.
The Mindrender Illucia fix?
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. That's not the best news. All right, no, let's do that first. Here we go.
Sound patches are great news.
So there was a hot fix, and I had not experienced this, but apparently if you played Mindrender Illucia, there was a chance that it would permanently swap decks, not just for one turn. And so, oops. And also, I guess there was an issue with Drakari Enchanter that normally what the card does is says that your end of turn effects happen twice. And I guess there was some interaction with secrets causing the game to crash or something like that. So I don't know. Anyways, but there was a hot fix, I guess, that went out today. And so those should no longer be issues. I managed to open up Illucia in gold, so I'm super excited because that was one of the I opened 3 gold legends and that was one of them, so I'm super excited for that.
Okay, the drum roll.
Okay,
drum roll,
yes, the best news. So we have our good friend Aramorn to thank for this. This was a total surprise. I was either prepping for the show or playing some Hearthstone or on Discord, and he reached out to me and said, hey, I wanted to do something for the show, and so here, I got this for you guys. And this is the most amazing thing, okay? Especially for those of us who have followed Hearthstone for a long time.
Yes.
The Godfather of Hearthstone himself, Mr. Ben Brode. Yes, yeah, I was so sad when he left. We did a little flannel salute for him, and it was. I mean, the team is doing great, and they've come a long way, and but he will always be, I think, the Godfather of Hearthstone. And so we have this really cool thing to share with you guys. I think for my fellow co-host, you won't hear it when I play this, but if you're watching the stream or listening to the show, you will. And this, I think, will be part of our permanent intro for the show. So without further ado, here you go.
Well, met. This has been Brode, and I'm here to give a shout out to the hosts of Born to be Wild, the first and best Hearthstone podcast. So that's Nate Wolf, Hydralisk, and Mike Lowe. Shout out to you guys. Heard the podcast is awesome. Your homie Ari Moore hit me up to say what's up to you guys, and also to do a soundbite. So if you wanted to use it, you could. So here we go. You are watching Born to be Wild. I'll do a couple takes. Hey, you are watching Born to be Wild. This has been Brode, and you're watching Born to be Wild. Hopefully what works for you guys.
Yo, that is amazing.
All right, well, hey, keep it up.
That's crazy.
Keep playing Wild. I love Wild.
When I saw that, I was stunned. I was like,
one of my top two favorite formats.
He just said Hydra's name and my name, and he's shouting out the show, and I was just like, oh, this is fantastic.
Isn't it crazy? He forgot to say Wild at first, which I think is hilarious, but like, it's so good. It was just, I had to watch it like, I don't know. I just sat there and watched it on repeat over and over and over, and I was just
so did I.
Yeah.
Absolutely dumbfounded.
I was like, you got to come watch this, because my son, he used to play a lot of Hearthstone, and he's seen all the Ben Brode raps and all this stuff, and I showed him, and he's just listening, and he's like, yeah, whatever, and he suddenly, as soon as Ben Brode said Hydralisk, he's like, oh yeah, Dad, oh. And because also my son's name on BattleNet is Mini Hydra, which is super cute. And so he's just like, he said your name, and I'm Mini Hydra, so he like basically said mine too. Oh yeah,
that is awesome, man.
He was so stoked, and he's like, play it again. Yeah, it is super cool. They're definitely a really cool moment.
That was super, super cool. So, Armor, thank you for hooking that up for us. That was just such an amazing, like, total fanboy moment. And
yes,
I think
that is the moment I was talking about. Yep,
that will forever be a part of the show now.
Oh yeah,
new intro incoming.
Yep. Yo, when I saw that. Like, of course, I believe in us. I feel like we're in an uptick, positivity spread around. We're doing good things daily for the community. I thought Ben Brode came across it and he was hyped. Regardless of how this started, I was just like, I still can't believe it. I was just like, he knows about the podcast. Like, he knows our names. Like, he loves Wild. Like, this is the Godfather of Hearthstone. This is dope.
That is so awesome.
Very cool.
I'm so hyped.
All right. Well, it's let's get into the main topic of the show, since that's why everybody's here, and I think let's jump into this lore moment. So we were chatting with Goliath and wanting to get him on an episode anyways, but the timing was like perfect for this, because typically on the show we'll talk about meta decks or what are we playing or whatever, but doing the show one day after the new set comes out, it's like, what are we going to talk about? We could talk about what we're playing and stuff, but it's like, it's like too fresh to say what's good. And Goliath is a lore master. I mean, he's known for, playing WoW and knowing the background and the story behind the cards. And he had just written an article for Out of Cards, about the lore behind Scholomance Academy, and so that getting the timing of him coming on the show was perfect to talk about the lore behind these cards. For those of you who listen to Velen's Chosen, Eve Martin used to do lore episodes every once in a while, and like big fan of their show. But I always loved the lore episodes because it's like, hey, we're going to talk about Archmage Antonidas. Hey, we're going to talk about, Thrall, or we're going to talk about whatever. And it was always like really fun for me because I never played WoW. I mean, I played a little bit of Warcraft a long time ago, but just to hear about the backstory of these cards, because I played tons of cards. Anyways, when they stopped recording the show, and real life happens and kind of everyone goes their separate ways. Like I was sad because I loved the show, but I always had a soft spot for the lore. So when we had this opportunity to do the show with you, I was like extra super duper excited. So and the timing is just amazing.
I'm very happy to fill this niche for you.
Yeah, I'm jazzed. So talk about fanboy moment. That is what I am having right now. So anyways, let us get started, and I am going to pull up some graphics on the screen. So for those of you who are listening to the audio portion of the podcast, I'm telling you right now, you guys are missing out. If you normally listen to the audio, thank you so much, but check out the video version on YouTube because we will have pictures from World of Warcraft and the associated Hearthstone cards, and so you can kind of see on your screen how they match up. They did a pretty incredible job here of syncing the artwork, and I highly recommend, if you normally listen, watch this one. So without further ado, I will start. And so we have here a flag and a map, and I will pass it over to Goliath the Dwarf.
All right. Thank you very much. So there's a couple of key things that we need to establish before we can get into the full Scholomance specific stories here. The most important part is the exact relationship between Hearthstone and Warcraft lore, because there's a lot of inspiration for things. There's a lot of characters from Warcraft that are in Hearthstone, but things tend to be a little different. So you see, the Hearthstone is actually a game that is canon in Warcraft lore, as in the people of World of Warcraft play the game Hearthstone. You can even, when you're in Warcraft, there are toys that you can like set up little Hearthstone boards and pretend that you're playing Hearthstone. It's an actual
awesome
thing that exists in Azeroth.
What?
And so yeah, I know.
That's crazy.
That's one of the things that got me into Hearthstone. That the feeling that it's this connection with this larger. Like I can pretend that I am my Warcraft main character when I play Hearthstone. I just pretend that I'm playing Hearthstone as Goliath the Dwarf.
Hey,
I know,
do they?
It's pretty awesome.
Do they hate Quest Mage over in Azeroth too?
I don't know. They haven't gone that deep. That's specific, but essentially the idea behind Hearthstone itself is that it's all in this one particular tavern run by Hearthstone Brew, the dwarven who greets you every time you go in the game. The one who says, "Oh, golden legendary," all that stuff. He's the guy who runs the tavern. And the idea is that Hearthstone, the stories and the cards are reflective of swapping tales around the hearth. That everybody is taking a break from all of their adventures, all of the fighting. It's a neutral zone. Alliance Horde doesn't matter. Everybody's welcome there. And they just rest. They pull up a mug of ale. They play some card games, and they tell stories around the fireplace. And just like tall tales in the real world, things that are based on real events, like for example, we could take a person like Johnny Appleseed or Davy Crockett or Andy Oakley. A lot of the tall tales or legends like King Arthur, which may have been based on a real person in history at some point, but then they get exaggerated for story effects, or people don't always get the details right. And so the idea is that the Hearthstone, the stories in Hearthstone reflect people kind of making up stories inspired by the real quote-unquote historical events going on in Azeroth. So that's why the particulars of the Hearthstone cards won't always quite match up with the exact lore, and I'm going to try to be very specific in explaining what is Warcraft exclusive, if anything is Hearthstone exclusive, where they match up, and that sort of case. So just wanted to explain that because it's very important to avoid confusion. So getting right into Scholomance. Scholomance is basically it is a school. It's an academy for necromancers led by Kel'Thuzad. If you look at the banner that we have the picture of right here, you may notice that the shape is the same basic shape, the purple shield, as the Hearthstone version. It's just that the Hearthstone version has a big golden S in there, while the Warcraft version has, well, a big evil-looking skull because necromancers and all that. So the idea here is that for the Hearthstone expansion, the idea is that it's a story that's being told, people imagining about what if it was, people thought it was a regular magic school or something before everybody knew it was all evil. So it's run by a group called the Cult of the Damned. Really attractive. It attracts a lot of people that way, I'm sure. But if you look at the map here, you'll see it's based on an island. The island is called Carandaro. It's run by a Barov, so we're going to get more to them later because they are cards. But so essentially, it's this secret place where the cult led by Kel'Thuzad worked to grow the first necromancers on Azeroth and the origin of this undead army for the Lich King known as the Scourge. And this is basically one of the headquarters of where it all happened. You can go to the next pictures if you like.
And well, let me point out one thing too on this banner here. Where they have kind of the skull thing with the green flame or whatever, but right below it they have the book. And I think it's interesting to note, on each of the Hearthstone cards, each set has like a symbol that they display on the text portion of the card.
Really good point.
And the book, I think, is the symbol for this set, right?
The watermark, as a lot of people call it.
Yeah. Okay. So let me.
Even I hadn't noticed that part. That's a good eye.
All right, so let me... All right, here we go. All right, here we go. So here is a close-up of the island and looks like the front gates.
Yeah, so now we're looking at some in-game footage from World of Warcraft. You can have a look and you can see the island right there. It's basically sort of a manor, a kind of a part rich manor, part fortress, and basically it's right now it is haunted by ghosts essentially. So this is where the distinction between classic and revamped World of Warcraft comes into play, because there's actually two versions of Scholomance. Scholomance was a dungeon in the original World of Warcraft, and since they have the classic servers now, you can technically go into the classic if you want to see and experience it as it was in that time. But when the Cataclysm expansion came along, they revamped the entire world, and eventually there was a second redone Scholomance dungeon. So that's another thing that will come into. So I'll refer to them as the first and second purge of Scholomance for the sake of story clarity. But essentially that means that first purge is the original dungeon in classic World of Warcraft. And then second purge will refer to the revamped version that came along in the game later to replace it.
Okay.
And so then we have the It's basically the ghosts were something that you could see in the original version. But so lore wise, they're still there. It's a very haunted area because a lot of nasty stuff went on here. This is necromancy after all. You can't technically see them in the game at the moment, but in the classic version, they are there. And so then we have our illustrations, some in-game footage of what it looks like on the inside. It is very, academy-based. They have libraries full of forbidden tomes, and there's magic zooming everywhere. It's like very sinister Hogwarts style, whilst the Hearthstone is going with very, happy magic school style with some sinister stuff that's secretly going on in the basement.
That Hearthstone twist, the happy twist.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
I thought that the announcement trailer, it captured that sense perfectly about, there's stuff going up here, but watch out, Kel'Thuzad will steal your soul. They're kidding, of course. I love that.
Well, no, Hearthstone has always been so like whimsical, right? And so I think how do you take a place? You take this, school of necromancy, you turn it into Hearthstone Hogwarts. But then you throw in that twist, but don't go down to the basement. and
Right.
And I like that they had the basement included in the game board as well. So you see like the staircase going down, and you click on it, and stuff, little things fly out or whatever. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. It's a great balancing act that they've done. Actually, one thing I love the Hearthstone art books. I have the two that have come out so far.
Me too.
Looking to Year the Mammoth one coming out around my birthday in October, which is really nice. And so it talks about some of the challenges they went through with some of the designs, and starting with Naxxramas, because Kel'Thuzad is he's a human in this version. He's a Lich in Naxxramas. Again, we'll get to his story very shortly. But they had the challenge of how are we going to strike the balance between whimsical Hearthstone and Naxxramas is this real house of horrors here, but then they found the balance with having Kel'Thuzad with the personality he has in Hearthstone, the interloper, what are you, so bombastic about it all that it's humorous. And when they did the Frozen Throne with the Lich King, he's just like really good at Hearthstone, and he's just like mocking your decks and everything.
Right.
It's a balance that they struck to keep the sense of the fear, the intensity of the bad guy, but also it's Hearthstone.
My favorite line in all of like Hearthstone PvE was Kel'Thuzad when you're facing him as the final boss. Like when you click on him, he goes, "I hear the next boss is very powerful and very handsome." it's so funny.
Exactly.
Like it's so good. And I think the Lich King ones also were so hilarious.
Yes,
they were so good. Like I want to replay them just to hear that. It was great.
Hey, were those the ones where you try to squelch it and it's like, you can't squelch me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Yes, they were so good.
And also one of my favorite interactions is that because he had for the final battle against the Lich King, you have to do it with each class, and there's a unique challenge for each one, except for Priest. They just have one where you can't emote. But if you can,
right? If
you can steal that card, then you can silence the Lich King, and his emotes are just.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
It's so good. Yes. Yeah, he tries to emote and he can't, and he gets really mad about it. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Okay. So you want to move into
that's the basis of what Scholomance looks like in the game. But let's get into the stories of the key players here, the behind the cards.
All right.
Okay, so first up we have Headmaster Kel'Thuzad, or Kel'Thuzad in human form.
Mm-hmm. So Kel'Thuzad, he has actually I am working on a full article about Kel'Thuzad's story all on its own. So that will hopefully be up within a week or so for anyone who wants to read even more detail than I have in the previous article, or even that I may talk about here. But essentially,
that's on out of dot cards.
Yep, at out of cards. And so Kel'Thuzad was originally from Dalaran, from before it was actually a floating city, back when it was just a regular city, before there was any horde or alliance or anything like that. And Dalaran is run by a group of mages called the Kirin Tor. Specifically, that group is led by a council of 6, like the most wisest and most powerful mages to do all the governing there. And he was one of those people. He was just at the top of his game right there, and always looking for more knowledge and more power, and kind of a little overly power hungry and obsessive about it. And basically, when the horde came through, Gul'dan, the warlock character that you play as by default in Hearthstone, he created these creatures called Death Knights by putting the souls of orc spirits into resurrected human corpses. And those were like his first Death Knights. And actually, Terran Gorfian was the first one. So if you remember that card from Ashes of Atlant, that's who that guy is.
Oh,
and
I did not know that.
Yeah, that's why he says, I was the first, He means he was the very first Death Knight.
That's super cool.
Oh,
The more
okay.
you know.
I know, right? That's one thing I love. The lore characters, when they're a lot of the time, the quotes that they'll say for the battle cries and stuff will often be taken, like if they were a boss fight in a dungeon or a raid, it'll be a line from that a lot of the
That's
time.
cool.
Yeah.
Hey, quick question.
Yep.
So if I did a trivia night and I said who was the first Death Knight, the correct answer is Terran Gorfied?
Depends on what they mean by Death Knight.
Oh, okay.
Yes, because there is a distinction here.
Okay.
So essentially, during an invasion, Terran was tasked with stealing an artifact from Dalaran called the Eye of Dalaran. It was kind of a big magic focus thing. And so, big assault on Dalaran. He just, crushed all of their defenses, killed the guards, got away, riding Deathwing, by the way. They had a bit of an alliance at that point. And I can imagine Deathwing letting it.
Right.
Let this guy do it. But anyway, Kel'Thuzad saw this, and he's like, whoa, death magic is really powerful, and we should study this, because look at what it can do. And everyone else in Dalaran is like, no way, man, that is gross, that is icky, it is completely unethical, we do not do necromancy. But Kel'Thuzad is like, you can't tell me what to do. And so he keeps on, studying and practicing necromancy in secret, like animating lab rats into undeath and all of that stuff, and just a bunch of, disturbing things. And he, gets demoted, and he gets censored, and he gets banned, and they're just about to kick him out of Dalaran altogether from being the highest place, but he just can't let go of this obsession. But then at this point, the Lich King is up in Northrend, and he is trying to build his army. He's trying to create this plague of undeath that kills people and immediately raises them as undead under his control. And he's looking for powerful individuals to help him, because he is trapped. He is frozen up in a block of ice in Northrend. And he kind of sends his consciousness throughout the world, seeking people, kind of whispering them in their sleep. And so Kel'Thuzad, he gets these whispers that say, I can teach you all about necromancy. I can answer all of your questions. It's going to be great. And he just abandons Dalaran. He heads up to Northrend and kind of gets more than he bargained for. Sees all of the really disturbing stuff, undead plague, experimenting on live human subjects and stuff, but he quickly gets over it, especially when he's told that there really isn't any other choice. There's no turning back now. And he is tasked by the Lich King with improving the plague and spreading out their eastern kingdoms and forming a cult to help him do it. And so that's what he does. He goes back to the Eastern Kingdom, specifically to the really big, impressive kingdom of Lordaeron, and he disguises himself as a holy man. And basically, he goes around preaching a new religion, saying, like, I'm going to uplift the poor. We're going to overthrow, your oppression and everything. Well, it'll all be great. And then he sucks the rich people in, all the wealthy land, by telling them, by the way, we're actually totally just going to use those people to get you more wealth and power, and you'll be immortal, so it'll be awesome. And so he just plays and recruits a whole bunch of people in, and hardly anyone knows what this is actually about. It's only the most devoted, the ones that he detects he can really turn to darkness, who are let in on the whole thing. And it's eventually called the Cult of the Damned. But so most of the people who are helping out with this have no idea what's really going on. And that is essentially the premise that the Hearthstone expansion is playing with. Because they're like, well, a lot of people didn't know what was going on. Organization. What if that organization was a magic school? And Scholomance just looked like it was, a place for people to go, and it was great. And then all this stuff is going on in the basement. So that is essentially, from a Hearthstone standpoint, so imagine people telling stories about this Kel'Thuzad guy and how he formed the cult. And in telling a tall tale, they're like, oh yeah, and it was totally a magic school too. So that's
Right.
kind of how it all fits together right there.
I just want to point out also, and like big props to the art team, because if you compare the cards to the artwork in game, they have, they're not identical, but they have adopted so many similarities. Like even in this card here, he's got the giant, the shoulder pads. He's got the purple and gold robes. It's got the sleeves match up, and I mean a lot of the things are very similar here. And so they definitely took his more, kind of Kirin Tor appearance. And we do have some artwork here later where he is kind of more in necromancer mode with like the skull hat and and all of that.
The finest necromancer passion.
Right.
Very cool.
Now, what causes him to turn into a lich? I guess if we can.
All right. Yeah, so, and then I believe you also have the picture with the Lich King, right?
Yeah, I did. I had it for 2 seconds, and I will put it back here. Let me,
Who was the Lich King at this time?
So the Lich King at this time was actually an orc named Ner'zhul who had been attempting to create portals so that the orcs could escape their dying world to get to other worlds. Problem was that the ritual that he performed kind of went out of control, and too many portals opened up and it completely destroyed the world. It like fractured reality, and that's what turned the world of Draenor into Outland. So that's actually the origin story for Outland as well.
Oh, interesting.
But, yeah, so it's connected. Yeah, it's funny that these two sets that we've had so far are kind of in the same general time frame.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll get back to that in a little bit when we get to Turalyon. But so essentially, Ner'zhul kind of escaped through one of the portals, but he was captured by Kil'jaeden, who was one of the big bosses of the demonic Burning League. And he's like, you have totally messed things up. You're just trying to get away. You're not trying to do the job. I wanted orcs to conquer Azeroth. You guys didn't do that. So he basically tortured and killed Ner'zhul and transformed his spirit into the Lich King and sent him down to Azeroth so that he could raise this undead army that would weaken Azeroth so that they couldn't fight off another demon invasion. The idea is, you just clear out all of the resistance first so you can swoop in without a problem. And that's where actually there were several dreadlords who were the Lich King's jailers. And one of them is Mal'Ganis. So you know the card Mal'Ganis all the way from, well, of course, if you play in Warlock and Wild, you definitely know the Mal'Ganis card.
Love me some Mal'Ganis.
Yep, and he's one of the Lich King's jailers here. And he's just like, Lich King is basically a disembodied spirit trapped in some armor that's frozen in a block of ice at this point. And he wants to conquer Azeroth with his undead army. He also really wants to not be a slave to the Legion anymore. And so he's trying to play all the different sides here. He's trying to trick the Dreadlords into thinking that his plans are really their ideas, so they don't see what he's really doing. Actually, Kel'Thuzad is a very key part of this, because Kel'Thuzad is the only person the Lich King reveals his ultimate plan to. And he's loyal. He's like, no problem, Lich King. Yeah, when you decide to rebel against the demons here, I'll totally have your back. And that's... Yeah, see, he's the closest thing that the Lich King has ever had to like a true friend. Very, very loyal. So nice. Essentially what happens is that, with the Scholomance experiments and Kel'Thuzad actually finishes developing his plague. That's also where the first abominations are invented, by the way. So you got all the ticking abomination and sludge belcher and all that stuff. They were all invented in Scholomance by hacking apart dead bodies and sewing them into these horrifying monstrosities.
Nice.
So, you just imagine like an adventure convention. You're like, Edison, I invented Alexander Graham Bell, I invented the telephone. Kel'Thuzad, I invented the abomination.
now here would be something funny if all the abominations were like Pokemon and they can only say their voice lines or their own name. Like for example, like if you run into Sludge Belcher, all he can say is, what does he say? He's like, I feel funny or something. What does he say? That's just all they say.
That's so funny. That's so funny.
Yeah.
So what is a Lich? I mean, I assume it's, Kel'Thuzad is now undead, but there are more than one Lich, right?
That is correct.
I mean, we will see, but
were actually orcs that were with Ner'zhul, and when he was transformed to Lich King, Liches. But essentially, a Lich is just a very powerful undead sorcerer, very highly skilled in necromancy, and so it's about one of the most powerful can possibly be.
They have a very interesting kind of appearance, though. Like, I don't know, like they almost look. I don't know, like they have this big crest behind them and everything, like almost like it almost looks Egyptian to me.
Yeah, I see what you're talking about. Yeah, just sort of the basically their version of the necromancer robes that they would have worn in life. Probably like a status type of thing or something. Is my guess. So they don't get mistaken for ordinary skeletons. And just from an art perspective, because it looks really cool.
It looks super cool.
That's the way Warcraft works. I mean, no one is really going to fight with huge shoulder blades, right? Those shoulder pads,
giant shoulder pads.
Just because it looks cool.
Giant shoulder pads are like the I don't know, like that is a classic World of Warcraft. I mean, that is
it's iconic,
like
imagery,
claim to flame.
yeah.
Very iconic, yes.
So essentially, the way that Kel'Thuzad ended up becoming a Lich is that the Lich King decided that he needed a champion in order to help lead the Scourge, and would also help him to break free of the Burning Legion's control. And his eyes were set on Arthas Menethil, who is, if you might recall, is the character, the hero that you can unlock for Paladin by defeating the Lich King in the solo content with all of the classes. Well, except for Demon Hunter now, because it wasn't a thing then. But anyway, so he was a Paladin. He was the Prince of the Kingdom of Lordaeron. And he was, really going out to fight against this undead scourge in order to protect his people. And the idea was that they would kind of drive him mad and corrupt him. And Kel'Thuzad had an important part to play in that because he was the one who faced Arthas in battle and kind of revealed that, oh, you think you're getting really discouraged because you're killing me? Mal'Ganis is my boss there. You're gonna want to get Mal'Ganis, but before he dies. And then Arthas goes and pursues Mal'Ganis because he thinks he's the one in charge of it, and he chases him all the way up to Northrend. And it's there that the Lich King corrupts him by tricking him into using the sword Frostmourne. Yes, Frostmourne, very important, almost like a part of the Lich King himself. And through that, Arthas becomes the first of the Scourge's Death Knights. So that when you said, is Terran Gorfine the first Death Knight? It depends on what you mean. He was technically the first of a certain kind of Death Knight, but that type of Death Knight was made by infusing the soul of a powerful warlock into a dead human. These Death Knights are just the risen, necromantically empowered and corrupted knights or paladins or whatever. They're killed and then they're raised up and they're shackled to the Lich King's will. They don't really have any independence. They just want whatever the Lich King wants automatically.
Okay.
And so Arthas becomes the first of those Death Knights, and his task is to go and resurrect Kel'Thuzad as a Lich, because they need him to perform this summon in order to bring members of the Burning Legion into Azeroth. And this is all stuff that happens in the Warcraft 3 game. It's part of the big story campaign and everything. So Arthas goes and he gathers up Kel'Thuzad's remains. He also has a fight with Uther, who is, of course, the default paladin hero and was actually his teacher growing up. And then he kills Uther. And then he takes the remains of Kel'Thuzad to the city of the High Elves, what will eventually be known as the Blood Elves. And essentially, they have this thing called the Sunwell, very powerful magical. And they need to get to that and put Kel'Thuzad in that in order to resurrect him as a Lich. And this is where Sylvanas Windrunner comes in, because on the way to do that, she is one of the people who is trying to stop him from breaking in. And Arthas kills her and raises her up as a Banshee. So that's actually her origin story. But at any rate, Kel'Thuzad gets risen up as a Lich, and then eventually goes to keeps on helping out Arthas as a Death Knight, and eventually Arthas merges with the Lich King. So he kind of becomes the second Lich King, and Kel'Thuzad takes over Naxxramas. That's when Naxxramas comes into play. And the interesting thing about Liches is that Liches are immortal so long as they have what is called a phylactery, basically this container that their souls are bound to. And so long as that phylactery remains intact, they can be killed, but then they'll just come back eventually, unless someone destroys it. So this, in the Naxxramas raid, which is another thing, that there was a classic version, and then there was a version that came along later, so two different Naxxramases. Kel'Thuzad has been killed as the final boss in both of those, but his phylactery has never been destroyed. So technically, lore-wise, he is still out there. I believe he is actually going to play a role in the Shadowlands expansion, exploring the afterlife in the next World of Warcraft. Which
would be really cool.
So Kel'Thuzad, there's a chance potentially. So he has, that's probably the longest individual story that I'll be telling here. He has a really big role to play in all.
Very cool. Okay, well, that is Kel'Thuzad. So now we start getting into the instructors, if you will. So let me pull up Ras Frostwhisper here. This is an interesting story, just based on my very limited research. So clearly, you can see in Warcraft that he appears as a Lich.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you make of this, Goliath?
So yeah, so what the Scholomance Hearthstone expansion is doing is for several characters that, whether they be significant bosses in a dungeon or without very much lore, it's very interesting. These cards are the first hints, the ideas that we get of what they looked like when they were alive. So since there's nothing contradicted, as far as I'm concerned, these images are what they looked like canon, unless something comes along to say, no, they looked differently.
Sure.
But Ras Frostwhisper was one of the first members of the Cult of the Damned. He was what's called a hedge mage. He was basically an unlicensed practitioner because he didn't get his formal schooling in Dalaran. So he is, very eager to join this Cult of the Damned. He's one of those people who is, turned quickly and, knows all the secrets. And he actually is really excited to become a Lich. Because he literally commits suicide. He just takes a knife to his throat for the
What the heck?
to get raised up as a Lich.
Hardcore.
Yeah, honestly, in some of the early Warcraft, they were a bit more graphic and with some of the details about this stuff. Nowadays, even when it's something like the torments of the demonic burning legion and stuff, they don't really go into the details. Back when some of this stuff was written, they weren't all that shy about going into that stuff. So yeah, Ras Frostwhisper essentially became the master and guardian of Scholomance after Kel'Thuzad moved on. He graduated to Naxxramas and all that stuff. So Kel'Thuzad is no longer in charge of Scholomance. Ras Frostwhisper isn't the headmaster, but he's kind of the one in charge of everything and kind of the big security guy. Now, remember what I said about liches and phylacteries? Well, Ras is unique because he doesn't have a phylactery for some reason. Maybe because of the circumstances under which he was raised. But essentially, what you could do in the dungeon as part of the story is you went to the place where he committed suicide and where he was raised as a Lich, and some of his soul essence still lingers there, and essentially you use that to turn him back into a human and take away his Lich powers and immortality, and then kill him permanently. He's very unusual Liches in that fashion. Now I find it interesting. He's, it's Frostwhisper. He has a lot of ice abilities, so I find it really fitting that they made him the dual class for Mage and Shaman, which both have the freeze type of cards.
Oh, yeah.
But they didn't give him any freeze ability.
Well, that was a missed opportunity there, but what was interesting also, because in not too distant past, they had been giving Shaman cards freeze abilities.
Oh, missed opportunity. Freeze Shaman.
Right.
I'm convinced Freeze Shaman will someday be a viable file. Not today, but someday. I'm confident of it. It's, at least flavor wise, it's too cool a thing to pass up.
Yes, we can always hope. All right, so yeah, you see him as his human form. It was really interesting. He has very big arms. It's very typical of Warcraft characters in general.
There's only one basic human male model,
and it's Beefcake. So. Yes. Anyways, super cool. All right, so speaking of Headmaster, next up we have Disciplinarian Gandling.
Yes, Gandling. So Gandling is the one who he was actually one of Ras Frostwhisper's pupils, and he's the one who essentially ascended to the position of headmaster, where he's known as Darkmaster Gandling. However, because the Scholomance expansion, the Scholomance Academy, is set before all of this happened, it's like, what would his rank have been at this point in time before he graduated and moved up to being the Dark Master? And so to say he is the disciplinarian, he's the one who, if you're a failing student or, if you're maybe pulling pranks on the teachers or something, he is very strict where he kills you and raises you a lab experiment.
Yeah, that's right. With the card
Yeah.
makes you a 4/4 failed student. That's great. So I have a question. The artwork here. So I've got two different pictures of Gandling from WoW, and this first one he's wearing kind of a blue color and black robes, and then
that's his classic model. Back before they they didn't have as good of technology for higher res clothing or very many different colors or things like that. So that's why he has that type of simpler looking outfit. But then again, Scholomance is rebooted in a sense, and he survives, and he is in both versions.
Okay.
There you go.
Well, you see the other version, the clothes match the card art identically. It's great. They did such a good job. And Goliath and I were chatting about this last night where, at least to me, on his Warcraft outfit, I swear it looks like an Eye of Cthulhu.
Yeah,
on
I'm
his
just
belt
staring
area.
at that right now. It looks exactly like that.
And I don't know. I mean, it sounds like that is not any sort of lore element, right? But
the Twilight's Hammer is the cult that worships the old gods. Interestingly, the old gods have a very difficult time influencing and controlling undead. So actually, the two forces are almost directly opposed.
Interesting.
Because you can't corrupt and drive insane something that is already undead and shackled to the will of a necromantic being, apparently. So yeah, I don't know whether they just kind of accidentally made it look like an Eye of Cthulhu, or maybe there's some sort of twist that they're going to bring in 50 expansions down. I don't know. But as far as I'm aware, there is no direct connection.
Okay.
It is an interesting observation that you had that I hadn't noticed before about his outfit.
This is another one that I was just so impressed that whoever the artist was, straight up outfit, completely straight out of the game. And for me in particular, I'm like you, I've got both art books. I absolutely adore them, and I have pre-ordered the third one as well. So, and in fact, if you pre-order it from Amazon, you get it for a lot cheaper. At least I think I got it for $20 off or something.
Oh, nice.
But anyways, I cannot wait until they do this set or the Year of the Phoenix as an art book. It'll be a blast.
We're going to have to wait 3 to 4 years for that, though, because they're only just coming out with Mammoth. We've got Raven and Dragon, and Phoenix will finally come along. But yeah, man, Hearthstone is so much beautiful art in it. That's why I just, it's one of my favorite parts of the game, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so next up we have the butcher himself, Dr. Krastinov.
Oh, yes. So, like I was saying before, the Warcraft story wasn't as much shying away from graphic details or at least implied images of things at this point. And Krastinov is potentially one of the most disturbing villains in Warcraft. And that's saying something, because there's big, cosmic scale things, demonic armies, old gods that want to destroy the world and make everyone mad, and all that stuff. but the implication of the details on the torments that this guy put people through is just very, very disturbing. So basically, he was the head torturer. He was the one who supplied all of the body parts for the necromantic experiments. Actually, they would catch this household servants of the Barov family in Scholomance and experiment on them. And it says things like, their ghosts basically talk about the things that happened to them, and they say things like, he showed us pain that we did not know could exist, and we would have died in the first day if he hadn't kept us alive by magical means. And so it's essentially just keeping them alive artificially to continue tormenting them.
Crazy.
And yeah, it's and just collecting body parts and blood of the innocent and all sorts of things that you need for your necromantic science project and stuff. He's the guy who retrieves that stuff. And he's known as the Butcher, and he wields butcher knives as a boss, and that's one of the core elements that they're tapping into for the flavor of the card here. He is also a character that appears in both of the versions of the Scholomance dungeon. So in this one, he's alive in the first one, although you can see in the card he's even younger looking because time difference. But then since you kill him in the first one, he's risen as an undead form by Gandling, because he's like, this guy was way too useful to just let him die. I'm going to raise him up so that he can continue supplying me with body parts. I need that stuff. I need my science fuel. And so then in the second version, you fight him as an undead, where I'm honestly not certain which version of him looks creepier.
Right?
I screwed up. I was going to craft him in gold before I opened my packs.
Oh.
And yeah, just because, looks like it slots into Odd Rogue pretty sweet. And
it does.
He looks pretty sweet. And I forgot. And then I opened him. The second I opened him, I'm like, no. Dang it. I forgot. Oh, well. I'll probably still do it.
I opened this one in gold. I got lucky. This was one of my 3. So, yeah, this is cool. This is very cool. So when this guy is, is he butchering people that went into the castle, butchering adventurers or students or family? You said the servants, or what?
Actually, the family servants were kind of, and people in the village surrounding the area, who would be captured and brought in for that sort of thing. And then, of course, when adventurers come in, naturally he's fighting them off. He's a boss battle, but his primary thing is capturing villagers and that sort of thing.
Okay, nice. All right, that's some crazy stuff.
That is.
Okay, and so I'm actually really interested in the next one, because this is Lord Barov, and the way my very limited understanding of the storyline is that the castle that became Scholomance used to be owned by the Barov family, right? They're this rich family.
That is correct.
And so they essentially got kind of, gave their stuff over to Scholomance and then got killed or whatever. I mean, you can explain it better than me.
Oh no.
But the Barov family is pretty integral.
So the story for the next 3 legendaries, there is a same story here. Lord Barov is, he's the leader of the family. They're
we lost you for a second. You're cutting out a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me better now?
Oh, yep.
Okay. So Lord Barov and his family are essentially the ruler. Got a lot of wealth and power and all of that stuff, and they control many of the surrounding areas. But they kind of get that thing that a lot of aristocrats in stories tend to do, where they become a little too greedy. I want more power, I want more wealth, and Kel'Thuzad is coming along and he's promising them all of that and immortality to boot. And they're like, sure, yeah, just give us all that stuff you're promising, and you can totally house as your base of operations. And, they sign on to this deal having no clue what they're getting into, like so many of the other people who were victims of Kel'Thuzad and the Lich King. And so, even, all the stuff with the servants comes along. And eventually there's a period where Uther is scheduled to come and pay them a visit. But before that can happen, Kel'Thuzad, basically, there's a little explosion of the plague, let's say, and everybody in the house is wiped out and raises undeads. There is no survivors. The entire Barov family is turned into undead and shackled to the will of the Kel'Thuzad, the Cult of the Damned, and the Lich King. So
Wait,
again, remember,
you're
they
saying-
don't
wait.
really have...
A spreading plague took over the family?
Very nice, Mike.
I hate playing against Spreading Plague so much. I hate that card with a
Dude,
passion.
Void Ripper.
I'm just glad
Void
that they
Ripper.
finally made it so it's one animation instead of
At
the
least
slow
it's-
torture of watching each scarab
Right.
form. Ugh.
That's what happened to the whole
But,
Barov family in one animation. Poof.
Yeah, essentially.
Can you imagine
So-
these guys turn their house over? Oh yeah, you can. Oh, this sounds pretty cool. We're rich and we want to be immortal. That's pretty dope. Hey, you want to do this thing out of our house? And and then you see what Scholomance has turned into, and it's a dungeon with ghosts and magic stuff, and the butcher walking around like. That's not quite what we had in mind.
Technically, they got immortality, just not what they were hoping for.
As Death Knights or what?
Well, see, Lord Barov was turned into a Death Knight. His wife and daughter, who's to in just a little bit, became ghosts. I don't know specifically what the difference was that caused that. Like I said, this stuff was written at a time when the Warcraft wasn't really putting a ton of story details into the game quite yet. It was still in its early stages. So that's some information that we sadly just don't have the details on right now, unless they decide to just put in more information, give stuff to us if they decide to revisit this in the story for whatever reason.
Okay.
But so essentially in the dungeon, you have to kill and but then eventually once he is dead, once he's freed from being a Death Knight by being killed, his spirit sticks around because he realizes that this is really horrible what's happened to my house, and I want all these people out. So in the second version of Scholomance, he actually helps to guide you to cleansing his house. He's disguised as a talking skull. I believe that we have an image of that.
I forgot to load it up. I don't have it. I'm sorry.
All right. Just picture a floating talking skull. It's not anything too specific. But at any rate, that indicates that he might have not been quite so eager in his support. It's the indication that he was very much tricked into this, that his service to the undead was very unwilling, but he had no choice because he's being mind controlled by them. And I think that's the sort of thing that they are trying to do in the Hearthstone card, where he's younger and still alive. He was not a paladin. It should be very clear. The paladin order was fresh at this point. There were only a few, paladins around, and he was definitely not one of them.
Huh.
But I think that they're, by the flavoring, aside from the fact that they just need to have someone for each dual class set. Ketchup and mustard, as Mike has coined the term for us for this particular pairing. But essentially, that I get the feeling that he was probably overall a pretty decent guy in that sense, who was manipulated and controlled into having to do this. And then once his spirit is free, then he wants to purge all the undead from his house. His family members, however, don't appear to be quite so altruistic, because one of them is a boss in both of the instances of the dungeon, and seems to be even more sinister the second time around.
So I have Illucia up first. Does that work for you?
Yeah, sure.
Is this the daughter?
No, this is actually his wife.
Oh, this is the wife.
Jandice
Okay.
is the daughter.
Gotcha. Okay, so Illucia, this is Illucia Barov. So this is Lord Barov's wife.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And his name is Alexia.
Alexi.
Lord Alexia Barov and Lady Illucia.
This is another example where you can see, like, very clearly the art from the game matches clearly the art from the card, like identically.
Yep.
So.
Oh yeah, it is really cool. So essentially, not much fresh backstory to give for these, because it's the same, story of the Barov. But the thing about her as a ghost, she is a master of shadow magic, and one of her key abilities in the dungeon is she can briefly mind control a player. So the computer takes over and forces you to attack your allies that you're doing the dungeon with. And that's essentially the fuel for her deck swapping thing about, I'm mind controlling your opponent's deck, and, now you control all the things that they play.
Mind controls your tank, and your tank goes and kills your mage, and you're like, oh.
Yep.
That's really good flavor,
Yeah, exactly.
though. I mean, I
That's
think
the
this
thing.
is a really good example of how the lore in World of Warcraft matches up the Hearthstone. And, like, if you hadn't known the story behind it or played the game, you wouldn't appreciate that. Like, that's such an interesting tidbit.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah, that's something that really enhances season for me, because especially when it's a bit more of a slightly more Warcraft lore heavy theme, like this, or like Ashes of Outland, then I go, oh, are these characters going to be cards finally? And then just the excitement of seeing if that particular voice line that they say, or that ability they have, is manifested as a Hearthstone card. For me, that really makes the reveal season and the waiting for it just super exciting to see.
For me, I have the opposite experience of, like, because I'm so much more used to Hearthstone, and then when I go and I play WoW and I hear a voice line from Hearthstone, I'm like, oh, that's from Hearthstone. Right? Like, totally not true, but it's cool for me in, like, the reverse way.
That's funny.
Yeah, I actually, after Scholomance was announced, I saw this meme that someone posted, which said, like, Warcraft players, like, you can't make half Scholomance, it's evil. And Hearthstone players, hey, did you hear? I heard that there is this spin-off game of Hearthstone called World of Warcraft.
Yeah, they made a Hearthstone MMO.
Like the extreme ends of people on both games.
That's hilarious. Okay, so this next one is also, so now we have the daughter.
Right.
Is this the mage legendary?
This is the mage rogue. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I opened as golden. Woo, and Lord
nice.
Barov.
Oh,
So
nice. I got her too. I don't have her golden.
Yeah.
Yes,
Cool
this
backstory.
is another brilliant example of the abilities that the character has and the boss fight manifesting in a Hearthstone card. So Jandice Barov, she was not only, noble family, she was also a mage in Dalaran, very powerful one. And she essentially invented this spell, which is essentially mirror image, just like the spell for mage, mirror image, the card. She basically invented that, being able to create these duplicates of herself that, mimic her mannerisms and look just like her. And it's really almost impossible to be able to pin her down. and that is a key ability that she has in her boss fight. And I just love how they manifested that in the card by making one of the minions that you summon essentially just an illusion that can be the wrong target for your opponent to attack, in a sense. That, it's just air, it just disappears as soon as you touch it.
Yeah, the flavor is so good there. The art also is spot on. Like, the art is identical. And here's a picture from the game where she's using that ability. And so the theme of the card matches so well. Like, I mean, it would be different, I suppose, if they had, summoned 2 copies of this minion. But it would be difficult to do that without knowing which one was the illusion, maybe. I don't know. But the flavor is definitely here.
Yeah.
For me, I like how the card works, but what's really cool is something Goliath just said, because he's not on the dev team. So the fact that she created basically the mirror image, spell or the ability, I like the fact that when they made this card, they didn't make her summon 2 mirror images. They let her summon 2 5-drops, because obviously she's a 5-drop. So I think that's where I caught once Goliath
That's
said
a
that,
really
I caught
good point.
Yeah, she can summon herself, of course, but she's a 5-drop. You can find other 5-drops. So very cool. Thank you for explaining that part. She created this spell or this ability to duplicate.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, and she's the one who's she's actually kind of got a promotion at Scholomance in between the 2 dungeons. So she's kind of more of a minor character in the first instance of it. But then she started, taking more responsibility and more authority and teaching all this illusion power to the necromancers at the school and everything. So she's a bit more of a major boss to be reckoned with in the second version of Scholomance that you can play on Warcraft today. So it indicates that, her dad, he died the first time, and he's like, I gotta, cleanse everything. She, on the other hand, sticks around and, upgrades in her rank to indicate that she might have been a bit more on the sinister side than her dad was,
Nice. Okay. So, I mean, that's interesting. I never realized there were 2 separate versions of Scholomance, and so it's interesting to see the character get kind of an upgrade in between. The next one is a little interesting. I mean, I think some of these have very little in the term of like lore, if you will, or very different character in game versus in Hearthstone. So the next one up is Lorekeeper Polkelt, where the character in WoW has the same name, but drastically different appearance. Anyways, what can you tell us about this one?
Very little, unfortunately. This is a character that is essentially just a named mini boss. With his title, it implies he's in charge of the library or something, and that at one point he knew a lot of stuff, very much like me. But
Lorekeeper shout out.
But he's just a shambling zombie at this point. He's got a rotting brain. He probably has lost all of that info. I'm surprised if he would be able to comprehend what a Dewey Decimal System is at this point.
Well, for somebody who doesn't have a lot of lore, it's a pretty solid card.
The card is pretty good. I mean, I guess the point is, though, this is all of these characters in their prime, many years ago at the academy, and so this is before his he took an arrow to the head. It looks like.
Yeah, this picture. This looks like a rotting zombie.
It does, yeah.
The rotting zombie.
Yeah,
Wild
essentially.
streamer. I love rotting zombies. Sorry, continue.
And so this is actually something that I really like about Hearthstone can enhance Warcraft lore, because this guy was there's like no reason to remember. For whatever reason, you're particularly enamored with this mini boss fight for whatever reason. But and this again, just in the first original classic version of the dungeon. But this idea of, let's expand on this guy. Let's give an idea who he was, what he looked like, the sort of powers that he had through the Hearthstone card, and just the effects and the flavoring is really kind of lore contributing, I believe. Like I say, if there's nothing to directly contradict it, I'll consider the Hearthstone contributions to be canon, because it's happened before with N'Zoth, for example. The depiction that they had for N'Zoth, he hadn't been revealed yet in World of Warcraft. That was the first time we ever got to see what N'Zoth looked like.
Interesting.
And it became the canon appearance.
Oh, wait, what?
Yeah. Yeah, N'Zoth he was just a rumor, a name that you sometimes heard and that people had theories about back when Whispers of the Old God card expansion came out. Mm-hmm. And so that was the first time that the artist who designed that card worked with the Warcraft team to determine what he would look like, because that would determine his appearance forever. And now he was a big boss fight in Battle for Azeroth right now. And so we have the Hearthstone art to thank for the appearance he has in Warcraft.
That's
so with
super
that sort
cool.
of precedent, I say that's why this could very well be what Polkelt looks like when he was alive.
Right.
I am perfectly willing to accept that.
And the theme of it is very fun. Like, if he's the Lorekeeper, okay, he's in charge of the library, and then the theme of the card is essentially, take all your stuff and like sort it all.
He's reshelving the books.
Right? Exactly. I love it. The thematically, it's very fun.
Mm-hmm. Yes, at Out of Cards, we running joke at the moment, because what one of our writers was predicting that this card would have a spell burst effect, and he said, "I'll eat a shoe if it doesn't." And so now we're all keep on nagging him to eat that shoe for us. And his review of the card is, "I hate this, and maybe eat a shoe," which is, yeah, we think it's really funny, at least.
That's funny. That's great.
That's for us at the Out of Cards.
All right. Next up, I have Professor Slate, who looks very much Back to the Future to me.
Yeah, I think they essentially took his appearance. Okay, what would this look like as a live person?
Right.
With the hairstyle and everything. So, again, very much like the Lorekeeper, this guy has no lore. He is a named boss or mini-boss in the original Scholomance. Actually, I've heard some people say that he's most likely named after Professor Slate from the Harry Potters, because this guy is the potion master. He's the alchemy teacher, and so it's probably hard. Warcraft loves to make name parodies off of other pop culture things.
Well, and we'll get to one in a minute, but no, that's funny. So off of Professor Snape, we have Professor Slate.
Snape, yes,
Professor Snape, the potions master. Yeah,
okay. Exactly. That's a theory that I read on the Hearthstone wiki, and it makes a lot of sense to me. So essentially, this guy, he's he does potions. He do stuff like kind of chug a potion that made him really big, kind of Jekyll Hyde type of thing. Though his Jekyll is already undead and really creepy, so not much of a difference. But like fire potions, and but he also had a toxic one that would do toxic damage and make pools of poison pool at players' feet. I think that's the sort of aspect that they are incarnating in his card effect, where he makes the spells poisonous.
Right. Well, that makes sense why it would be a hunter card as well, because they do some of that. Interesting. I've got one other picture for him here as well, and so I'm not sure which one is from which version, but definitely you see him undead with these big kind of vile things on his back. It matches the card art.
Yeah, those
quite
are
well.
plague spreaders.
Plague spreaders. Okay.
Yeah, sort of like the way that a lot of undead spread the plague is kind of like you like this backpack sort of thing, and then they spray it out of a hose to contaminate an area. So that's probably the sort of thing that he's wearing now.
I'm looking at the Professor Putricide card art, and it looks like almost identical to the WoW
yes
character. Like
Is it supposed to be the same character?
No,
That's what I thought.
Not the same character. Very similar though.
Okay.
Same hair,
They do
same
similar
glasses.
things. This is something that again it chalked up to the fact that the art and character models in the early stages were a little bit limited, and so a lot of the undead mad scientists looked the same. You may notice that there's a very similarity to the mad scientist, the basic mad scientist card. The I'll show them all. He looks very much like that. It's just kind of the basic undead mad scientist play creator look that they like to use, but they are all different characters.
Gotcha.
Okay. Interesting.
That card drives me nuts a lot of the time, by the way.
Mad
Oh, yeah.
scientist.
Yesterday,
Yeah,
somebody dropped
it's-
2 of them on the board at the same, one turn and then the next turn. I'm like, really? Do I clear them and just figure out the secrets, or do I just keep going face?
And in Wild, it gets worse every expansion because larger pool of secrets, and you don't know which one to be. You're trying to play around them.
All right. Next up, we have Vectus. Again, he looks like he's undead in the game, but even here, clearly, the armor is identical. Trademark shoulder pads, and a lot of flavor in this one as well. Some ties to Blackrock Mountain and the whelps and
this
stuff.
This is one of my favorites.
Black Rock.
One of my favorites in terms of incarnating the whole story of this guy into his effect. So essentially, he is the teacher in charge of creating undead dragons, the plagued dragon flight, they call it. So basically what he did is he smuggled or bought smuggled from other people who did it, black dragon eggs from Blackrock Mountain. Where Neltharion
Nefarian,
sun eggs. Well, they got a hold of some of those, and Vectus is the one who performs the experiments to turn them into undead, and he raises them. Somehow they hatch as undead whelps, and somehow they still grow into full adult dragons, even though they're undead. I don't know exactly how that works, but
Mystical magic world.
Yeah, who needs an explanation? It's magic. Honestly, if we could explain it, probably wouldn't be as entertaining. But at any rate, that's his whole thing. And one of my favorites. He has some fun lines in the dungeon, because it is really fun in the dungeons, because they really lean heavy into the fact that it's a school, where there's headmasters and everything. And so he's saying things like, now on our last field trip class, we observed the behavior of how the plagued dragon flight will be able to consume a fresh corpse, but only if you killed it in this particular gruesome way right in front of them. And he's talking check our lab notes as we study this plagued dragon flight. And I just find it really funny how they're talking. They make him talk in such a typical teacher way about this horrific stuff.
That's hilarious. I like it. It kind of reminds me of playing Portal, and the way the stupid guy talks to you the whole time with his humor. I love that.
And so these are the card art for these is the whelp, right? The little dragonling or the whelp from
the plagued whelp.
And are
And-
is it the same art as like the ones that come out when you play like Leroy Jenkins or is it
No, those are living whelps.
These
for
are
Leroy.
undead.
A whelp is basically just the first stage after a dragon hatches. They are a whelp, and then they grow up into a drake, and then eventually a full dragon. They have like a drake is kind of like a teenage dragon,
Okay.
and a whelp is a baby dragon. But dragons are also
Which
they're
phase is
very intelligent.
big old whelp? What step is that? Big old whelp.
I'd say that's probably preteen dragon.
Okay.
Probably a spoiled, overfed whelp.
Got it. Hey, we
My
got some big
personal
old whelp
guess.
fans here, so I gotta ask.
That was a good, I appreciate that question. Actually, that was good.
The flavor here is super cool.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, another like very, very good example of how the card matches the lore. I mean, so solid.
Really is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the thing is with, since he's just developing the experiments at this point, it's a bit more unpredictable, the effect. And so they can have different death rattles to reflect that,
Yeah.
By the way, I saw something on Twitter this week about this card. Somebody was asking, and the devs, I think it was Core, or somebody responded that the whelps here are very similar to the Undertaker card, the Undertaker, in that it will only copy the death rattle of a card that has an inherent death rattle. If the card gains death rattle by some means, it won't copy that.
Yeah,
It'll
like ancestral
That
spirit
makes
or
sense.
whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
If it's something that says, copy the death rattle of or whatever, like it's not going to work. Like Undertaker's a good example.
Yeah.
But, you take a card with built-in death rattle, your Sludge Belcher or whatever, it could copy that.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, super cool. I love the Ghost Rider, like, flaming skull thing.
I would like to know if they ever would make undead an actual tribe in the game.
That'd be rad.
I severely doubt it. I kind of hope they don't, because there'd be so many debates about whether this card should be qualified as undead or not. And many cards that would fall into that are already part of other tribes. Then you'd have cards that
Bone
the
Drake.
question is, should we have two tribes in the same card? And it's ghosts and zombies and all. There's so many different kinds of undead.
Well, do you remember when they
there's-
changed the art for the Spectral Grizzly or whatever it's called?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
Yes,
it
I
used to
was
be
thinking
like a ghost, but then it had a beast tag, and so there was some kind of debate on like, well, is it a beast because it's like a ghost? How can it be a beast? And so they just changed
they
the art.
removed the beast from Spectral Charger for a very similar reason.
Okay, yeah.
But now with one of the new cards, with the was it Flying Fish or whatever it's called, the Murloc on the broomstick,
Or Ghostlight Angler.
it's Ghost. The one it dies, but then there's the Ghost card version of it, and that Ghost still has a Murloc tag. So a Ghost beast is not a
fishy
beast.
flyer.
A Ghost Murloc is still a Murloc. It's honestly very confusing, and
Fishy flyer.
I think that if they were to make an undead tribe, it would way too many problems with what to do retroactively.
Yeah, I could see that. All right, so
It's actually another article that I am within the next month or so talking about all of the different types of undead in stone cards. So there's so many different varieties. That's another project that works at the moment.
Yeah,
Nice.
the Ghostlight Angler is already a Murloc, and without even having to die. And it's that 2/2 with Echo.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and it's a ghost,
it's
yeah.
already a ghost, and it's a Murloc, and they never changed that one.
This is what I've heard people refer to Hearthstone in this as consistently inconsistent.
Yes, that's
when it
true.
comes to things like that, and wording on cards and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, they try to simplify, but then like in Rage they got rid of, which was kind of weird to me. And now they just say when it's damaged, it gets +1 attack or plus some attack. Like, okay. I liked the keyword for that one. But yeah, I don't know. It is what it is. I'm going to just keep us moving along because we're running a little bit long, which is fine. But next up, we've got Rattlegore, the warrior legendary here.
Right. So Rattlegore is what is essentially... he is...
Wait, so I'm sorry. You cut out real quick. What is he? Like a bone golem
he's
or
called
something?
a bone golem.
Okay.
So he's basically made out of bones, just like how a giant or an abomination sewing muscle and flesh together and everything. A bone golem like Rattlegore is made by just putting together bones and animating it. And also he has like sharp sides or something on his as his hands. And he was essentially, created as a weapon to release against the enemies of Scholomance and the Cult of the Damned and all of that. And he was defeated at a place called Anderhall. But then Gandling decided to, recreate him even stronger than before. And so he's another boss that is in both instances of the Scholomance. And very easy to do so because you literally just rebuild him.
Right.
Which is the idea behind his effect, that he gets rebuilt or something. Though it's kind of in reverse because the version in the card, it keeps getting weaker, whereas lore-wise, he's supposed to be rebuilt stronger.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that's a missed opportunity there. I think it would have been like they could have been a 5-mana 5/5 that, gets, or gets put back in your hand as a 6-mana 6/6. I don't know. I mean, I understand.
Kind of like a Pyros in a sense?
Pyros.
Like Pyros, yeah. But, they already did it. I mean, it works. It works.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy that there's and I appreciate that, they work what they can, but you have to keep mechanics in too. I do understand that, as much of a lore-focused junkie as I am.
Yeah. Okay,
when
next.
I first saw this, it reminded me real quick of Skull Greymon. I know it's a Digimon, but they look almost identical, bro. I'm telling you guys.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, yeah, nice. Put it in the chat. That'll be cool. The next one up has very little lore, it sounds like, or there's I think some confusion here. So the card is Archwitch Willow. Now, when I search the image on Google Images, like you find art for it, but Goliath, you're saying it's a different character. Is that correct?
Yes. So this is something that I was a bit first because the person who had the official card reveal in the art, they said that this is the same as this character in World of Warcraft, and so that's what I wrote about in the article. But then we actually got a clarification in a tweet from one of the Blizzard devs that said that no, they were actually not the same character, and so I left it. It's still up there in the article what I wrote. But we have a note that says, please note, this is not the character that we originally thought it was. So keep that in mind when you read this. And then that's when I also got the confirmation about Fireheart, who we'll get to in a bit. And then added her in. But essentially, so this is actually Archwitch Willow is a Hearthstone original character who specializes in teaching demonology to the students at Scholomance, which is her flavor, about summoning the demons from your hand in your deck. So initially thought that she was this character who is a quest giver who is a member of the Twilight Samer and serves the old gods. But as it turns out, they are actually not the same person.
That's cool, though. I like when Hearthstone does that. And they've done that with a few characters now. And turn them into something cool that WoW is actually put in the game. So that's neat.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. What did they do? Weren't there some like the League of Explorers or something like that?
Yeah,
yes, the League of Explorers are now in World of Warcraft.
But they started in Hearthstone. That's correct, right?
That is correct.
That's super cool. I like that.
Me too.
Very cool.
All right. Who is up next? Okay, so we've got Instructor Fireheart. And I think, like you were saying, this is a really interesting idea here because the lore and the card are like they're different, but they synergize. I don't know. I'll let you explain it.
Yes. So we had it confirmed. I'd heard it from Blizzard Dev that this is the living version. A boss in Scholomance called Instructor Chillheart. So, in life she was Fireheart, but liches tend to have a special potency for frost magic and freezing things. It's kind of one of the big themes, especially, Lich King is up, on the frozen throne up in Northrend. It's kind of a big thematic thing for them.
Yeah.
But so, yes, one of her big things is that she when she goes into her phylactery as a lich, she uses spells around the library to cast other things in the party, and I think that's probably the sort of thing that the card is trying to reflect. The discovering and using all of these different kinds of spells. One of my favorites is one of the books that she uses to cast fire spells is called Antonidas' Guide to Standing in Fire. You've heard that don't stand in fire stuff, which I find that to be absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
And so for her, unlike Kel'Thuzad, she had a phylactery that was right there, and that one got destroyed in the fight. So she is a lich that is gone for good at this point in the story, because she was careless enough to leave her phylactery out in the open where people could kill her for some. I don't know. It's a boss fight. I can't explain it.
I like the flavor here, though. It's kind of cool, right? Just you're alive as a fire mage or whatever. Or Fireheart, and then you, as a lich, Chillheart. Like, that's clever. It's just really clever.
Yeah, it is.
That is very cool.
All right, let's see what is up next. Here, talk about lore here. I think you've got quite a bit with. We have Turalyon. So this, I liked what you had to say. For anybody that hasn't had an opportunity, you've written an article for Out of Cards. There's a link to it in our Discord. But I think you were saying that this is one of the strangest choices to be a instructor at Scholomance, because like if anybody was ever a paladin from like the pure good perspective, like this is the dude. And so having him be an instructor at like the Evil Magic Academy seems very strange. But then again, this is Hearthstone, right? And this is like the whimsical, and like he's like, hey, he's the good one upstairs, and Kel'Thuzad is the bad one in the basement, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I guess from that standpoint, you that it's demonstrating how well he's fooling everybody, that even Turalyon doesn't suspect something or whatever. But the big reason that this doesn't fit in is because lore-wise, Turalyon isn't around while Scholomance is a thing. Because I said that there were just a few main paladins at this time. Turalyon was one of those first. He was a founding member of Silver Hand. Every time you summon a Silver Hand paladin, that's the original order of the very first paladins that were formed specifically to combat those death knights that I talked about way back at the beginning, like Terran Gorfiend. They're, having all this powerful death magic. And so, like, we need to form some knights who have holy magic that can counter that. And that's where the paladins came from. And so Turalyon, he was around for all of that stuff. And yes, and we can see that picture is actually taken from the Volume 2 of the Chronicles about the formation of the Alliance. He was very forming the Alliance himself, too. But so the thing is that Turalyon was one of those people who led a strike force back when that explosion happened that shattered Outland. And he was trapped on Outland, he was on the other side. He couldn't get back to Azeroth. And what essentially happened is that he and Illyria ended up getting recruited by the Army of the Light, which is essentially this cosmic army that's trying to fight the Burning Legion across the universe. And so they were off, doing that and presumed dead by everyone for a really long time until the Legion expansion. So at the point where Scholomance is a thing in the story, Turalyon actually isn't on Azeroth. He is off fighting a space war, and everyone thinks that he's dead. So even more than having, you have to have a Paladin Legendary because you need to complete a Hearthstone set.
Right.
But
The Hearthstone Space War set.
I know, right?
Yeah, I want them to make a Burning expansion to have the really cool, even more of the important demons as cards and some of the Army of the Light stuff, and it would just be awesome. And it would be.
I'm down to play some Quest Mage in space. Let's
Hey,
go.
there you go.
Yeah.
Hey, so he is married to Illyria, right?
That is correct.
And then we're talking Illyria, Windrunner, sister of Sylvanas, alternate hunter, art portrait in Hearthstone.
Yep, and Verisa Windrunner is sister, who's the hunter legendary from the Rise of Shadows.
Very cool.
They're all one family.
That's
So,
pretty
yeah.
cool. So then we see him also in his space armor here.
Yep, that's his light forged space armor essentially, and it looks really badass. And that's my hope that his thing doesn't really make much sense here. I think that they just really liked the sound of Turalyon the Tenured and put him in purely because of that. But we've had characters that have had multiple cards before. And that space version of him could be an excellent way for them to put in a slightly more accurate, more lore accurate version in the future.
Looks like he ran into the Protoss and got some sweet armor.
Right? I was gonna say, or what it kind of reminds me up a little bit. Like I was playing a lot of Diablo for a while, and when you meet like the angels. Or the Seraphim or whatever in Diablo, they all have this kind of like space looking armor, kind of like this. So that's pretty cool. I like it. It looks like we're having a little bit of trouble with the stream. So if it drops, that's why we record a nice digital high-res version of this for YouTube.
Excellent.
We should be back up momentarily. But in the meantime,
what up, YouTube?
It looks like we only have one left,
right.
which is Infiltrator Lilian. And I think this is funny to me because we had talked a little bit earlier about sometimes Warcraft taking their names from other, play on words on other things. But like, let's see, we have Infiltrator Lilian and Lilian Voss is like a total ripoff of Magic the Gathering. Lilian, what is the last name? Do you guys play Magic at all?
I have attempted a couple different times, but I am very used to the nice, simple instructions on Hearthstone cards. All of the words and different things of Magic is too much for me to handle when I try.
I remember.
It's Vess. Liliana Vess is a black, like a necromancer, really powerful. Like black magic user.
I didn't know that.
In Magic the Gathering. Yeah, it's Liliana Vess. It's
Planeswalker.
yeah. And so I thought that was hilarious when I first saw this.
I didn't even think of that. Good call, Nate.
There you go.
Yeah, I wouldn't have got that. I tried to play Magic when it was new and I was a kid, and
me too.
It was too much for me. I'm like, I had a friend who gave me a deck, and he had a deck, and he was just destroying me. Like, I don't get this. I'm going home. It's too much.
Oh, see, he failed you because he should have gave you his deck so you could have all the cool combos. So he could have brought you in instead of just like trashing you.
Oh yeah, no, that's exactly what he did. He probably gave me some garbage, right?
Yep.
Uh,
Damn.
But yeah, so Lilian Voss is this major player in undead Forsaken storylines. If particularly if you are if you play an undead character in World of Warcraft, and this card, Infiltrator Lilian, is the first shot that we get as to what she looks like when she was alive. So especially since she's such a major one, I think that's particularly exciting for her, even more so than a lot of the others that we get there first, what they looked like when they were alive. So you may notice that wearing a very particular kind of armor, a very particular uniform there. That is the uniform of the Scarlet Crusade. The Scarlet Crusade was this kind of splinter faction off of the Silverhand Paladins that was very dedicated to eradicating the undead. Only problem was they kind of got infiltrated by a killed the paladin who was in charge and like possessed his body, and so when they thought that they were taking orders from this noble paladin, they were actually taking orders from a demon who was manipulating and corrupting them into fanatics.
Damn,
that
good intention.
Yeah, they kind of ended up being a bit on the xenophobic side, suspecting that anyone might potentially be carrying the plague of undeath, whether they looked like they were sick or not, especially non-humans. And so kind of very ostracized by the rest. Like, everyone wants to, all the paladins, the alliance, everyone distance themselves from the Scarlet Crusade because they are like the worst stereotype of inquisitors that you can possibly have, and they're a core enemy that you fight as a Forsaken in some of the starting zones in Warcraft.
Interesting.
But Lilian was, she was raised by her father, who was a high priest of the Scarlet Crusade, and so she was trained throughout all her life. Her entire childhood was dedicated to mastering ways to fight the undead. She learned stealth. She learned martial arts. She learned sorcery. All of this different stuff to make her this, ultimate fighter. And so at this point, where she's still alive, she's still working with this crusade. You can tell from the title Infiltrator Lilian that they may be crazy fanatics, but that for once, they say it's not paranoid if you're right. Well, in this case, they happen to be right. They're like, there's something going on with Scholomance. I just know it. And everyone else is probably like, dude, you're crazy. It's just a nice magic school. You're just doing your fanatic stuff. But like, no, we're gonna infiltrate that school. We're gonna prove there's something going on there. And for once, they're actually right.
That's
and
funny.
Like
well, and the
Lilian
death rattle is very on point too, because you know, she dies, she comes back as an undead, and the stealth is very on point as well. Like thematically, very, very solid card.
Agreed. Yeah, it's that's kind of the core of her stuff there in that card. And then the kind of opponent is that after she's resurrected as a Forsaken, well, for one, she kills her dad because he is like, we said that we would kill all dead. You're an undead now. I'm sorry. It's just the way it works. And she's like, no. And so then she murders him and decides to dedicate, destroy the Scarlet Crusade. And she actually helps in killing High Inquisitor Whitemane. So, that legendary card.
Okay.
Which is why, if you recall from the Uther the Ebon, Whitemane is one of the horsemen that you can summon.
Oh.
That's what happens after she gets resurrected as a Death Knight later on in the story after Lilian Boss helps to kill her.
Holy
And
cow,
then-
that's crazy.
And then Lilian also leads the charge in that second purge of Scholomance in the rebooted version. So she's, going to... she's leading the charge of the party against Darkmaster Gandling and the rebuilt Rattlegore and all of that stuff. Although she actually gets temporarily mind controlled by Gandling because, she's undead and he's a necromancer and controlling the undead is kind of his thing. And so then you have to fight her briefly before you snap her out of it. So yeah, that's a core aspect that she has a part to play in the Scholomance dungeon itself as well.
That's cool. That is so cool. Well, that is the last card that we have as far as lore goes. So thank you so much for joining us and getting to talk about all these. I think the timing, again, is so good for... the set just come out. Everything is so new. We're kind of all experimenting with the cards, but like getting to know the whole background and how it fits in has been a really neat experience. So,
I learned so much. I'm gonna
pleasure.
have to listen to this episode twice.
Seriously, yeah.
Yeah, no, this is
thank you so much.
This is a treat for us, I think. And now I was not aware of you earlier, and I wish that I was, but now I get the pleasure of going back and reading your older articles, and so I'm excited about that as well. I'll start with Ashes of Outland, and I'm looking forward to your new Kel'Thuzad article coming out, so that'll be a lot of fun.
Thank you.
We may have to snipe you from time to time when these new sets come out to do one of these.
Yo, I was gonna suggest
I would
that.
love that.
Oh,
Yeah.
that'd be awesome. I think this may be the start of a new tradition here. I think as long as you're okay with it, man, I
Okay.
think this would be fun.
Yeah.
So
I would look forward to it. That would be a new...
that'd be super cool. Well, we
But,
would love
I
it.
get to talk about this no more. To be wild now.
When
yeah.
did you write your first article for Out of Cards?
I've been writing for Out of Cards for about a year now. I started my first article was about the Tolvir in between when Saviors of Doom still awaiting the Tombs of Terror to be announced.
Okay.
So I started writing about some of that stuff. I've written about the dragon aspects. I've written about Dalaran, Karazhan, the entire story of Illidan Stormrage and the Illidari. We've got a whole bunch of different topics, and if you ever have anything, you guys and anyone watching the stream or the recording here, if you ever have any topics from Hearthstone that you particularly want a lore article about, feel free to go to one of my articles or one of the forums that we have in Out of Cards and ask for it suggested as a topic. I'm always looking for new things that people really curious to learn about.
Very
Awesome.
cool.
One thing I'd like to say is quick shout out to Flux from Out of Cards, because that guy has put in a lot of work on that website.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I agree. Yeah.
Like he from
amazing.
the Hearthstone legacy.
Oh,
and he's created Out of Cards and done a lot of work. And I'd like to say, shout out to that guy.
Absolutely. I was very nervous when Flux split with Hearthstone. And I was worried that, Hearthstone has been around for such a long time. Like, is this new website going to take off? Like, that was a really difficult choice. And it had to happen. I mean, for a lot of reasons, and I understand that. But I'm just very happy that it went the direction that it did. I know that he was wanting creative control and get out from under the, the powers that be, and
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm just very happy how it all turned out, and so big props to Flux, and we're big fans for sure. So you're doing good work, working with good people. So excited for that.
Thanks. Yeah, me too.
Hey, for me, my favorite ones so far have been catching up reading the articles about the primes. That is a great one right there.
Oh,
those
thank
primes.
you.
Yeah, reading the backstory on that, I was like, I'm glad people like you, or you specifically, exist. and that you post on our Discord. But it's too bad the company, they don't have someone who does what you do for them. But I'm glad that you're doing it, because reading the backstory on these characters kind of make me want to play more.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
If you're watching, I am looking for a job, so...
Hey, you heard that, Cora? Songbird.
I secretly think that it's the job of some Blizzard intern to like listen to all the podcasts and like let the bosses know what we're talking about.
Oh, totally. It's gotta happen.
It's not some paid employee, but an intern for sure.
I'll take that.
Hey, go listen
to. I think that it's hilarious that this is the very first expansion to be announced after I graduated from college. Like, I just finished college, and then it's a college-themed expansion.
Right?
Yeah.
That's funny. Very cool. Before we wrap up the episode, I wanted to chat about, just real briefly, like, kind of what decks that we've been playing. I mean, the expansion has been out for 1 day. So for those of you watching live, for those of you listening later, or watching this later, like, there is no established meta. You see people, spamming Pirate Warrior and Secret Mage and the old archetypes for easy wins, but like these new decks, what have you guys been? I asked you guys ahead of time, like, hey, maybe each of us can bring a deck, and we don't have to spend a lot of time on it, but just to say, hey, what have we been goofing around with? And so I have them. I don't know what order they're in here, but first I have Corbett's Kingsbane Rogue that Hydra was playing.
Yeah, so I saw a little video that he made, and he basically called it the most aggressive low curve nonsense he could think of.
Okay.
And I was like, sure, let's try that. So it's Kingsbane Rogue, but he's got it's full of 0 drops and 1 drops and 2 drops all the way to the very end, where there's only as 4 drops. There's Dread Corsairs and Tinker Sharp Sword Oil at the very end. Like, that's it.
That's it. Well, Secret Passage, because Secret Passage only costs 1, like, the chance of you being able to draw a bunch of cards, drop them all on the board, and then immediately reload your hand, like,
good point.
It just seems crazy powerful.
One thing I was doing with
Passage animation, that's so cool.
The animation's so cool, where you go off one side and then the cards come back on the other side.
Yeah,
that's
rad.
definitely, I love that.
I was taking a little bit of a risk with that, and because sometimes I'd end up with a handful of nonsense. Like, I'd have a couple of counterfeit coins and like a backstab or whatever, and I would just like counterfeit coin, Secret Passage. So I knew I'd have like a bunch of mana going into whatever I got. And then so you get a handful of pirates and just like throw everything on the board. Like, I didn't even know what I was going to get. I'm like, but I get to see how much mana I can have.
Damn.
Like, before I like get 5 new cards. And
that's
so
hilarious. That's
yeah. And sometimes it worked. Sometimes it didn't. Sometimes you get trash, but no, it's fun. I don't know if this is the way the deck is going to end up being, but it was really cool to try. And I don't know, I played like 10 games with it. I think I was around 70%, high 60s, something like that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, it wasn't bad for trying a new deck. I mean, like I said, it's super low to the ground, and you could just flood the board super early. So it was pretty good.
That's cool. It looks like Corbett may have changed the list up, and I think that's going to happen, right? When we're so early in the meta. Like, these are all experimental decks. I mean, this is not something that I was going to say, hey, we recommend, hey, play all this stuff. Like, nobody knows what to play right now. Just go have fun.
All of your dust to craft these cards.
Oh God, don't. Yeah. By the way, yeah, I don't recommend, like, if you're missing cards, don't go craft a bunch of stuff right now. I mean, or do whatever, but the meta is not going to be solved for a little while. So,
if I have to say a statement opposite of these guys, if you're my THL opponent for this upcoming season, please craft all the cards right now. I need you to get that slow start. Thank you.
There we go. So the next deck I have up is this Soul Shard Q block that I got from Goliath. It looks kind of like a normal Q block build with the Soul Shard cards thrown in, which actually seem really pretty strong here.
Yeah, I got this from an Alpha Core deck list. I believe that said that Ben actually designed this particular one, which would explain why there is no N'Zoth in it. But
You say Ben from work?
yes.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh, that makes sense. God, I
we
love
love
it.
you, Ben. We love you.
That's funny.
Yeah, so I just was looking for for me is there's a lot of key legendaries for Wild that I don't have yet, so I'm often very limited on what deck lists I can actually use. But the thing is that Warlock has been one of my favorite classes for a while, and there was a period where I just wanted to get every single Warlock card. So I have a lot of crafted Warlock legendaries, whether people consider them useful or not. So when it comes to Warlock decks, the odds are a lot better that I'll be able to give it a shot. And honestly, I was just really interested in wanting to test out this soul shard mechanic, because I'm sure a lot of people are. I thought, I'm going to give this a shot. I want to have fun playing around with this. I've had some decent success with cube block type of things recently, and why not merge them together? I'm also attempting to figure out some good adaptations for the discard lock that I was able to get First Legend last month with. And then of course, trying to play around a bit, figure out how to use my legendaries. I'm attempting to see if I can work first day of school and Lord Barov to Uther one turn kill paladin, where you have Auctioneer Beardo and you play all of those, putting the couple zero costs in, wondering if that might help. And Lord Barov, it helps to supplement some of that. Wild Pyromancer and the Libram of Justice that helps to do all that. So I'm not having the most success, but I'm experimenting with that. Those three are pretty much all attempts so far in the existence of this set one day.
Yeah, I took an Uther OTK Paladin up to, I don't know, I think it was platinum or something like that, and it uses a lot of the Libram cards, because when you can reduce them down to 0, it helps you do the Beardo OTK combo. And so I think that there's definitely potential. I've been working on one as well. There's a lot of fuel for the quest in the Paladin quest as well. So
Right.
We'll see. I don't know that it's actually good, but it's definitely fun.
Agreed.
Mike, it looks like you were playing with Zeroshio earlier, and you guys brewed up this deck. What is this?
Yeah, so today, me and Zeroshio had scheduled a co-op. He went live on his stream, so I jumped in voice chat. So our goal is to put together a couple of decks, do some play testing. The first one we came across wasn't really a new deck. It was just a Mali Druid. We decided to throw in Lightning Blooms. And as you can expect, the deck is much faster. Thank you to Nature Studies. Shout out to E Sheep. Last week he said this card would be great. I fell asleep on it, and I didn't realize if I get it in the mulligan, I can play Overgrown 3, and then it's just a wrap from there. So Malygos Druid.
Wow.
Yeah, Malygos Druid is nasty, bro.
Super mana ramp.
Yeah, it was crazy. But
Holy
the deck
cow.
we played a bunch of games with was this Priest deck. Last week when we did reviews, I talked about Frazzled Freshman. Or actually, I wanted to go deep, but I didn't.
Oh, no, I think we all talked you out of it because we were saying, oh, it's just a vanilla card. Let it go. It's a vanilla card. Let it go.
Yeah.
And it was also like 5 a.m.
That's true. By the time we got to this card, it was kind of late, so I couldn't geek out. But me and Zeroshio, this deck, I have different ideas, but the one we landed on here was to kind of fluctuate health so we can get Flesh Giant out. The goal is to get, Frazzle Freshman or Radiant Elemental or Septic Veil Weaver, and then try to get Shadow Ascendant or Dragon Maw to boost them. But if we don't get those minions to boost, we can play spells to boost the other two. And what's really cool is what's that 3-cost spell? Gift of Luminance. Let's say you play a Sethic on a 2, or you play not Shadow Ascendant, or you play Elemental, basically those 2 power drops, if they stay alive, like most of the games they did, you can play Gift of Luminance on 3. It gives the first one a Divine Shield, and then it summons a copy, which is a 1/1. And now when you have 2 Septic Veil Weavers, and you have, Renew and Power Word Feast and all these targetable cards, like, it just got out of control.
Sounds fun. I want to try that.
It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of work to be done. Go ahead, Nate.
Gift of Luminance, the one that's the one you said, right? That gives it Divine Shield and summons a copy, is absolutely nutty in Quest Paladin. Anything with a death rattle, I verified today and last night. It keeps the death rattle, and it keeps the death rattle when you summon the new copy. And so if you put your 0-cost Librams on something, and then summon a copy with Divine Shield, yeah, dude, it's pretty crazy. Go play with it. It's
Mike's brain just exploded. He's like, I am like, can I go play this now?
yeah. I don't.
Snap!
So I was playing last night. I brewed up a Quest Paladin deck and I will say it's not good. It is fun. It needs a lot of refinement, but there's potential. And that 5 mana cost that gives your guy +8/+8. I really like it.
I ran into that today. Me and Zerosia were playing, and we came across a YouTuber you guys may know. I think his name was Kiwi something.
Not familiar with that one.
Yeah, there's a Hearthstone player,
Kiwi Bacon.
Kiwi Bacon. Yeah, we actually won against Kiwi Bacon. I believe Kiwi was going for that 5 mana +8/+8 to OTK us, but we got out. We got out of the game with the priest deck. We got out. Thank God.
Yeah, he's a big poster. He takes any deck people make, and then he posts videos on Hearthstone about them. He's been doing that for years.
Nice.
Yeah, he makes videos constantly, mostly budget decks and stuff like that.
Okay.
Awesome.
Free to play. I do like budget decks.
There we go. So here's what I've been playing. I got this from the Chinese server. I've seen a lot of different versions. This is what I've been playing. Is Even Warlock, and the new cards are pretty crazy. Brittlebone Destroyer is absolutely nuts. It's so easy to play because you life tap for 1. Like, I played a mirror match earlier tonight, and my opponent, I dropped a Mountain Giant on turn 4 or turn 5. My opponent drops a Mountain Giant. Next turn on 5, I life tapped and played my Brittlebone Destroyer and killed his. It was so great. It was so great. Lorekeeper Polkelt is interesting in this deck. Soul Shear I think is good. There's a lot of synergy with Flesh Giant, right? It's interesting. It's interesting shuffling the soul fragments in without any of the synergy cards, but you can use them to get your life back up later. Or with Flesh Giant, it says anytime your life total changes, so it's for damage or healing. Yep. So there's a little bit of synergy there. I haven't played a lot of this, but what I have played, it's pretty fun. I also saw a Reno variant of this going around that I lost to last night, and I was so mad because it was an even Warlock, and they were dropping, hey, Molten Giant, Mountain Giant, Flesh Giant, Abyssal Summoner. I was like, oh god, it's even. And I had almost killed him, and then Reno Jackson, I was like, what? And then next turn it was Kazakus. And I was completely fooled. We have the deck list up in our Discord if you're interested in checking it out. Again, I don't know how good it is, but it totally threw me off guard, and it was super fun. So this is what I'm playing right now. I think Raise Dead works really well in this also because it will bring something back to your hand that died earlier. So if any of these giants you can play for very cheap. I don't know, a lot of synergy here. I think that this is a really fun time to be in Wild because our card pool is bigger now than it ever has been. And so yeah, this is super cool.
Hey, real quick.
Yeah.
Because you just said it and I forgot, but this happened in our games and it was amazing. Raise Dead it brought back Sethic Veilweaver and Radiant Elemental when we forced him out on turn 2 and the opponent killed it. Like, we know we get it right back. It was awesome. I love that card. That card's pretty cool. Raise Dead is awesome.
Yeah, it seems good. It seems good. I can't wait to play more with this. So I think that's what we'll probably all be doing a lot this weekend.
Yeah, easily. I love Paladin, but I might be playing a lot of Priest and Warlock cards.
Yeah, well, and I think the dual class cards are really fun. Like, you know, we've got 9 classes, 10 classes. I'm sorry. But, you know, they get a little bit stale after a while. And so the idea of playing some of these dual class cards, like, it really changes things up a little bit. Like, well, this card has a lot of utility in, you know, in Priest, but it also has a lot of utility in Paladin. Like, whoa, okay, who would have thought?
Yeah, I think the whole the double major flavoring is pretty creative for that. The whole, you know, the customizing, the idea of disciplines crossing over into other disciplines matches really well for, you know, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we could use this, even in some cases, class specific utilities like combo that, but we could play them in this other class. And I think it's really cool that for this expansion, we get the opportunity to kind of have that fantasy realized for a little while.
Yeah. Super cool. Okay, well, for anybody, we're about to wrap up the show. For anybody that wants to hang out, we can do a little bit of co-op on Ladder, just for funsies. Again, I think the meta is so fresh, we don't know what's good. But definitely having fun. Before we go, where can people find you? And let me start out with Goliath. If someone wants to find your articles, watch you stream, or follow you on social media, where can they find you?
Okay, so I'm not very active on social media at this point in my life. I might be at some point. I technically do have a currently it is at Mighty Mythos. I don't really post anything there except maybe there's an on-Mac thing that'll come up if I decide to stream. I do technically have a Twitch channel, which is also Goliath the Dwarf, if you want to check that out. Haven't been doing very much on it, largely because I have yet to get my own bachelor pad, and so hard to stream when you never know if a fan do with something. But I hope to. Currently, you can see like recordings of me doing Twitch Sings karaoke, if that's your thing.
Oh man, I wish I would have known. I would have got you for a song.
Oh, karaoke show.
Oh
he
God,
does karaoke.
It's not too late.
You guys don't want to do that.
Hey, we do parody songs, right? We'll have to tap you. I'd
love to contribute. I love singing. I've been in a lot of fires in my life.
I had a really rough time with this week's. I mean, I belted it out, but it is not super pleasing to the ear.
It's amazing. Don't kid yourself.
But the whole thing is that I strongly recommend, I heavily encourage people to go to the Out of Card site. It's a wonderful community over there. Very positive for the most. I mean, you always have two people, but it's a great team that runs it. I love interacting with them. I love them, and we're always doing new stuff. We should actually within the next week or so be resuming our custom card competitions.
Oh, those are always fun.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just imagine that now that people class cards all the come up with. And you can check out all of my lore guides there and leave suggestions for any ones that you would like to see. So that's the Out of Cards website, and you can find anything under Goliath the Dwarf.
Awesome. Very cool. Hey, Hydralisk, where can people find you?
Before I say that, one other place you can find Goliath the Dwarf is in our Discord.
Oh, yeah.
He's there all the time posting really cool stuff and links, and he's very active in there.
Yes, feel free to hit me up, tag me in the line at all. I'd be happy to send I can.
Yeah.
Awesome. I appreciate that.
Me, you can always find me on Twitter. I'm on there quite a bit. That's Hydralisk_HS. I'm also on Twitch at Hydralisk_HS. When I'm on Twitch, I stream usually kind of anything, not just Hearthstone, but just sort of whatever I want. So expect to see sort of anything. And yeah, that's where you can find me.
Very cool. Mike, what about you? Where can people find you?
Yeah, like Hydra said, definitely check out Goliath in the Discord. Homeboy's got his own channel, you know what I'm saying? He's a Loremaster, so definitely come through, check out his content. Goliath, you say you do karaoke. You got to do some music with us because we got the hardest bars in Azeroth. You know what I'm saying? we got the best beats in Bob's Tavern. You know, he's always got us he's always playing us in the jukebox. So come through sometime. All right, man. You guys can find me on Twitter, Twitch at Michael TV, and find me here every Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern.
Very, very cool. Happy to have all you guys on. As for me, I'm most active on Twitter. My handle is at NateWolfTCG. It's NateWolfeTCG. I am very active in the Discord. I stream very infrequently, so don't plan it. Hydra, I love your cat.
It's like opening up 400 card packs.
Right. Wait, what's your cat's name?
This is Rory.
Hi, Rory. Welcome to the show.
Oh, you're so cute.
Yeah, the origin of her name is really stupid.
Is that a Gilmore Girls or what?
Yeah.
Bam.
Yeah, she is. How old are you, Rory? She's from 2006. She's 14. I've had her for 14 years.
Nice.
Ooh, nice.
And
Nice.
yes, she is named after the Gilmore Girls little girl.
Very good. On Mike's dog. That is a gorgeous dog.
Aww.
Yeah, it's Zelda.
Zelda?
Yeah.
Awesome. Very cool. Sorry, I got sidetracked by the animals. I have a couple cats wandering around somewhere, but not up here tonight. You can find me on Twitter at NateWolfTCG. Mostly active on Discord all the time. You can find our show at borntobewildhs.com. We will joke about this to our dying day, but do not go to borntobewild.com unless you are looking for Viagra energy drinks. But make sure make sure that you add the HS to the end. So borntobewildhs.com.
Yeah.
All of our content is there. So you can find all of our past shows. You can find the audio versions, the video versions, links to all of our Twitters and YouTubes and everything else.
And the merch store.
Yeah, super cool. We have a new merch store that Wildcard and his wife set up through their company Spangle, and the merch is beautiful. It turned out so nice. The shirts are nice and soft. The artwork turned out really clean. Very, very happy with it. Buy
one size larger than you think you want.
Yeah, definitely. Or yeah, I need to get in, maybe lose a couple pounds, but but anyways, I hope that you guys will check out the website, check out the merch. It's very cool. I forgot to post it on this week's show. I'll post it on next week's show, but someone bought some clothes with theirs and sent us a photo of their son wearing one of our shirts with the cartoon dragon, cute. And it was so awesome. Love seeing it. So that's very cool.
Love to see that.
Anyways, before oops, what did I do here? Before we go, I did want to ask all of you guys a quick question.
Hey, while you're getting that question, we want to shout out to Womp Rat. That was the person who who posted the picture in the Discord of their child wearing our merch. Check out that merch, borntobewildhs.com.
Beautiful. All right, guys, I want to wrap up the show with a question. So earlier we had talked about the Warcraft movie, and I've got some free time finally this weekend. And so my question for you all, completely unrelated, is what fantasy movie do you recommend that I watch this weekend? And I'm going to start out with Goliath. What do you think?
Oh boy. That is difficult for me, though. So, are you asking for obscure things or things that maybe the odds are seen or what?
I just want it to be good. Don't care.
Now, I personally, kind of an unpopular. I am actually a big fan of the Hobbit movie trilogy. A lot of people say, "Oh, they stretched out a short little kids book into 3 movies," but I say that it's a lot quicker and easier to say something happened. It takes longer to actually show it happening in the fullness of however long it takes for a battle to last and stuff. They took some liberties with the books, but I think that to some extent it's fun that they draw some connections to some of the wider Middle Earth mythology from like books like the Silmarillion, a couple of things that they drop in there. And it's a way that Tolkien may have chosen to write The Hobbit had he known he was far more serious Lord of the Rings afterwards. So a lot of people trash him. I personally still enjoy and recommend the Hobbit trilogy.
I like it. What about you, Mike? What do you think? What good fantasy movie should I watch?
Oh man, so the ones I've watched are very, very few. How do you feel about James and the Giant Peach?
Hey, that works, man. That works. I have read the book as a kid, rewatched it. Tim Burton did a good job with the animation. Some good stuff. I see Craig used to stump me with this stuff all the time, out of the blue, super random question, and I would always forget that it was happening, and so I enjoy this as it's a tradition at this point. And I see Hydra scratching his head over there, which is why I chose you last. So Hydra,
I finally have an answer.
Perfect timing.
I'm not the biggest fan. I'm more of a sci-fi fan than I am fantasy, so this was taking me a while. Really? But I'm gonna go with a childhood favorite. You have to go back some years and get yourself a copy of the Neverending Story.
Oh, dude, yes. In fact,
I love the song.
We should cover that song sometime. Yeah. Yeah.
That's actually one I've had a lot of fun with the on.
So yes, that is a good recommendation. For those of you who haven't seen it, the Neverending Story is great. The sequel is not quite so great.
The third one is absolute garbage from what I hear.
The books are interesting and they are a little bit different, but very fun. So, all right.
Nice.
All right. The Neverending Story.
Yeah.
Wiser words were never spoken, and you heard that on Born to be Wild.